is where tradition never dies. This is your radio, Cayman.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us as we invite you to be a part of a discussion. Remember, 2 o'clock, the briefing will start. We'll take it to you live when it does. Sometimes it's just a little bit after. People get settled and everything, but no problem. We got you covered. And for to start things off, the excellent company of Miss Katina Anglin get a chance to talk about civics. It's part of the Christian Civics Association. So we invite you to be a part of a discussion. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Also brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile. Saving lives today. Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talk today at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. I trust and pray that your week thus far has been not only very rewarding, but for most of us, a chance to reflect on who we are and as we go into the weekend, to find ways to rest and rejuvenate, but equally to reposition our minds and ourselves so that we become ever more productive and beneficial to our societies. Very honored to have as our guest today, virtually in our studio, the wonderful company of Miss Katina Anglin. I think she continues, to shine and to share and to remind us that as a people, we can do much when we do it together. And to our listeners, to our callers, and to all and Sunday alike, sometimes when we are so accustomed to things like, what it was before, this whole stuff that we facing now. Well, we had to get used to the technology. And then when we, sort of got our IT people or ourselves aligned and accustomed to it, then we say, okay, now we know what to do. And then I think it's working perfectly. And when it's all of a sudden, it's not. And guess what? We get frustrated. Well, let's not do that. So whenever we have little issues with the cell phones or the technology, well, be mindful. It's just another tool. Don't let it be a master. Well, now please join me as we welcome Ms. Katina Anglin, the Public Relations Officer for the Christian Association for Civics, so one of the registered NPOs. And this time, this is the hat she wears. But for those who know her, truly recognize a remarkable lady who continues to shine. Ms. Katina, a very special, public talk today. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you as well, Dwayne. Good afternoon to the entire Cayman
I know
Islands.
we were having the challenges earlier. Are you there, Ms. Katina?
I am.
Okay. We'll get that started again shortly. Again, see what I was just sharing with our listeners just beforehand. I know we had Ms. Katina online connected up just waiting patiently as we listen to the news and the weather report. And then lo and behold, bam, sometimes your cheek hits the screen of the smartphone and disconnects. You find your fingers waving across something and disconnects. And sometimes they, everybody's connected, but nobody is hearing. So, all right, she's there, and I think she can hear me, but I can't hear her. So, Mr. Fox, I apologize. So, what do I need to do? Because we were hearing each other just now. Miss Katina, mom, I apologize. Are you able to hear me? Ah,
Can you
I
hear me
think that's
now,
working
Dwayne?
now. Yeah, you know what was that commercial? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. We have
I,
Verizon.
you
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I'm hopeful that people will look at it and just shake their heads and laugh and let it be a smile. If it's the only smile for today, let's see if we can find another one. But not let it frustrate us. Let us just remind us of the importance of patience and perseverance. Again, mom, our apologies on behalf of our service provider, on behalf of the copper wire and the you know fiber optics and whatever other connections that there may be to get us into this Zoom. So, good afternoon to you, and please
Good
accept a
afternoon.
very, very special welcome. How are you today, mom? How are you?
I am fine. And you know, when we add in all of those, and there are more that was probably missing that you didn't mention, that
Yep.
goes into just having this one called Connect. We must, we must learn to be patient because there's so much that goes in to making anything happen, you know?
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's
And
the
some
thing.
people think that, because we live in a technological age, quote unquote, that it's all supposed to be perfect. But it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work like that. That technology is subject to fail.
Mm-hmm.
It is another type of machinery, and human beings created perfectly by God. We subject to error as well.
Mm-hmm.
So in all things, give praise and be patient. Boy, and that word patient, patient. Yeah, I'm not going down the road on that discussion today, Dwayne.
No, no, listen, I'm not following you if you are, so don't even go there. No, but thank you for reminding us because I won't speak for anybody else. I keep saying to people that as much as we would like to change others, that we should be
Mm,
mindful that the one person that we can work on, that we can probably be more successful at changing, and even then we have a challenge, is ourselves, right?
exactly,
So
exactly.
let's look at that person. But when you think of for instance, those of us for whom we had, our brothers or our fathers or uncles, even our grandfathers. I say men specifically because they were the ones primarily that went to sea. We know a few of the wives accompanied their husbands for a period of time at sea, which I think was remarkable, right? But
Mhm,
they were at sea, and even in those days where there might have been some sort of telecommunications to the ship to shore. There may be some other things, but even today, sometimes with the technology we have, and they're out just fishing, or as we say in West Bay,
mm,
fishing. You know,
yeah, that's the right
there's
word.
an interruption. Yeah, man, there is an
Yeah.
interruption with them connecting to the shore, and we get a bit worried because we haven't heard from them when they would normally check in, or we were talking with them and there was a something that happened,
Mm,
and then
mm,
thankfully they've come back safely. But for that a few seconds, a few minutes, or in some cases, much longer, we grow
mhm,
very worried. So
yeah.
here we are having a conversation, hopefully very safely and very comfortably seated, standing, or wherever we are. And the line doesn't connect for whatever reason. It could be something malicious because it's somebody just wants to have fun. It could be something just be totally unbeknown, and you like, but I pressed the button, it says on, and the light is green, and it's supposed to be green, and everything is working, but for whatever reason, it's not working, right? You can
Mhm,
see the little rat
mhm.
up inside the box with his paws on the thing going, ha 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 ha, you're not connecting today. A- Anything can happen, right? So when it does, like I said, just work with it, man. So thank you for
Yeah.
that.
But
Um,
Dwayne, you brought up a really good point. That we can carry it right back to being patient, and being
mhm,
faithful, right? Is the seaman, and he wrote a letter when he was wherever he was, and that letter had to
mhm,
travel by ship. And I can assure you that it's not every letter that made it back home because it's not every ship that made it back home. you know. And here was wife and children at home just waiting patiently for the next ship to come in, you know, so that they could get this letter. And there's a lesson in patience when technology doesn't work immediately for us. To just remember that things do come true. Sometimes they come on ships, you know. So to be patient. And the show yesterday for the International Seafarers Day. And I just want to continue to encourage the country to dig and research more, to learn more about who it is that's being celebrated when we're talking about seafarers, to go digging and find out who exactly are we talking about. You know, how many children, young boys who grew into men on the sea, how many young men grew into big men, as we call them, on the sea, right? And you'd be amazed at the degree of bravery that they had. And I always, you know, bring to memory the men who were getting onto the boat to leave and had got the news from those who arrived on another boat that they were the only survivors of a boat that sank. And I think it was only 2 of them who made it back. But yet those who were about to depart still got onto their boat and left. And that is, when you're talking about being courageous, right? That is courage. That is courage in the Lord, because they prayed before they even got on their boats to leave, right? That the Lord would bring them back safely. And so here you are getting the news that persons who come from your own country, they didn't all make it back, but you still go do what you have to do. You know, there was reason for them to fear, but moving forward in the face of fear is where we have courage. You know,
but they may have been afraid, but if they had healthy respect and, as you said, faith, you know, and now, Ms. Katino, why do we do this? You know, let's quickly pause, take this first break of our segment. When we come back again, you know, introduce the topic to us formally and properly as we talk about civics. Very timely, I think, for this discussion. Very important that we've heard it so often. So let's get into this notion of, you know, with the topic and why now as we look at civics education. And as, well, I was going to say as a law student, but who knows, you know, maybe one of the future, you know, judges in our system. Who knows? You know,
who knows? Who knows? God knows our future.
Amen. Let's do that after the break. And to our listeners, we want you to not only tune in and to learn, but to ask questions and to recognize that we each have a significant role to play if we're willing to take up the mantle. All right, rejoin us after the break. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
We are here for you. Whether you are in extreme financial need, have lost your job, have been directly or indirectly affected by the pandemic, we are here. The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan is here to assist through the Cayman Islands Government Emergency Withdrawal Program. To withdraw, visit chamberpension.ky and complete the online application form by filling in your personal details, the amount you wish to withdraw, and upload a notarized government ID such as your passport or driver's license. For information as it happens, visit chamberpension.ky or follow our social media pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. We thank you for your patience as we address the high volume of email and phone queries. The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. You can count on us.
Mommy, have you been taking your medication?
No, I think I forgot to pick it up.
Your doctor prescribed it for a reason, so you should be taking it regularly.
I know, TD. Thanks for the reminder.
If you are elderly or vulnerable and need your prescription delivered to your home, contact the Health Services Authority Pharmacy at 949-8600. Taking your medication when prescribed is important to your health, and your health matters to us. For more information about our pharmacy hours and locations, visit hsa.ky or call 949-8600.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, it's a pleasure to welcome Stam in our capacity as the Public Relations Officer for the Christian Association for Civics, Ms. Katina Anglin. Again, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks so much for joining us, Ms. Katina. As we were going through the break, we were talking about, setting the tone for our discussion now. So we're really looking forward to having you share with us some more.
Oh, good afternoon, Dwayne. And I think last time I wasn't able to express my welcome because there's a little technical glitch there to the Cayman Islands. And so here it is. Good afternoon, Cayman Islands, and God bless you. Today, sorry?
Say amen. Amen to the blessings.
Amen to the blessing, that's right. So people don't know to embrace that, Jesus said, God bless you. You see, yeah. That's it. You know what I mean? They don't declare it over themselves. So anyway, but today, Dwayne, what I'd like for us to talk about is the citizen, civics, and civics education, right? Over the last, I would say 2 years in particular, I have come to recognize where there was a huge cavity in our society, and that was the lack of civic education and understanding, and even for those who understood some degree of rejection for their role. Now, it is really, really important that citizens understand the 3 P's that exist in a society, and those 3 P's are the people, the politician, and the pastor. And the pastor represents the body spiritual. The politician represents the body temporal. These 2 bodies, they govern 2 very distinct bodies of law. The pastor, he is about the law of the Lord. It is the law of the Lord on which, and the Judeo-Christian principles on which the law of the land in the Western Hemisphere is actually built. Now, the people, our responsibility is to oversee the second one, the politicians, right? Because inside of that regime there, that political regime, there's a lawmaking body who makes the laws that are carried out by the executive, and the executive is adjudged by the judiciary. So those are the 3 pillars of our governmental society. The pastors are there to provide a spiritual guidance, and they hold us accountable according to the law of the Lord. So my focus is not about the body spiritual. Of course, that will come in as you continue on with discussions, but the focus really is on civics and civics education regarding the body temporal and the role that we as citizens play in guiding the country forward. And so I am hopeful that we'll be able to help citizens to understand how the government operates and how civics affects its operation, and that we will help citizens to accept the civic role that they have to guide the country forward, and that having understood and accepted these things, that you can help citizens to take an active role in shaping the future for the greater good of the present citizen and for future generations. Sometimes we kind of think that we are here living for ourselves, but we really are not. We are on borrowed property. We are in charge to take care of it for the inheritors of it, who we call in law the beneficiaries, right? And the Bible says that the wise man lays up the fortune for his future generations, right? Well, part of laying up that fortune is to make sure that you have a governmental system that is working effectively for the greater good of its citizens all throughout. And so that's the purpose of this session and ongoing sessions in the future, and the purpose also of the Christian Association for Civics.
You know, and I commend you and all of the others, because I think we've heard with the greatest respect from so many different people, even educators who have endeavored to try to weave it into the curriculum and probably do so. We've heard it from politicians and other public pundits, and it's important. But I think to have a concerted effort to not just involve and invite people into the discussion, but again, I'll be guided by you, not so that I'm here on a platform necessarily, but hopefully, you know, just through my own sort of mindset and share how I'm looking at it, to inculcate into our populace this notion that we're one, aware and very familiar of our Constitution and its provisions and how it impacts us. That we're comfortable having conversation, you know, about certain things with a view that we understand that our role, again, just my take, our role, you know, as an individual is once we're eligible, we get registered to vote, and then we participate in that process by making an informed decision when it comes around to referendum or casting our ballots or elections, general, special, or otherwise. But more than that, that we start to appreciate that it extends beyond just being registered to vote and going out and vote. That's important, very, very crucial. But are there things that we can do to help shape the agenda, to question some of the policies, why we're doing this or why we're not doing it, or well, why we're doing it this way if we're doing it, and I think that's all sort of uh, involves an understanding and an engagement in civics, as I've heard what you shared, right?
Right. And see, one of where this chasm exists is because civics is not a part of our school curriculum, and it's not a part of our community curriculum. One of the earliest civics-based programs that you get exposed to are programs such as Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. I was going skirts, but that wasn't the word I wanted to use.
I was thinking Girls Guides, but maybe it's Scouts too.
where we begin to learn the good neighbor principle and other things that you learn in Girl Scouts, right? And it's discussion on the effect of Girl Scouts on building good civic leaders. There was a podcast by the Houghton Mifflin Harcourt Learning Center, and the name of that broadcast, the name of that podcast is Preparing Future Voters and the Influence of Educators. And they speak about, community programs such even as Girl Scouts. Now, here in Cayman, Girl Scouts is not something that is heavily advertised in our communities. It is not something that is heavily encouraged to primary school girls. And then feel free to go ahead and extend the same thing to Boy Scouts as well. Part of the reason why is that we live in communities who don't understand the value of these types of training. There are a few, yes, who understand it and the foundation that it lays for raising great leaders, because you begin to get that early learning about community efforts and work. But but civics is not a part of our curriculum. a standard ongoing curriculum that helps to groom persons for civic duties and responsibilities. And you spoke just now about being a registered voter. One of the things that I have found shocking and I have become very, very active in is discussions on elections and assisting persons become registered voters, because they don't seem to understand that as a citizen they have a responsibility merely by existing in the community in which they exist to help to guide that community forward. So then let's take a person who is not a registered voter, who is complaining about, the state of unemployment, who the conditions of their community, the absence of Department of Environmental Health Services on a constant basis, right? Now, where does his power to drive the change really come from? His power to drive the change comes from, and I'm talking about the legal power to do so, comes from being a registered voter. I take great pride in beginning a conversation with someone in government by saying, I'm a registered voter in West Bay North, and I have voted in every election since I have been 18. And when I say that to persons who appreciate the value of civics and understanding the power of a registered voter and the role that being a registered voter plays, right, in guiding the country forward, I get a different reception than persons who don't understand what that is all about, right? Because they begin to realize, oh, so you understand the power that you have. And a lot of persons in our community doesn't understand how that really works, okay? Now, is that all their fault? No, because we admitted already it does not exist in our education, it does not exist in our community education services, and it does not exist broadly in our community. Now, our politicians also didn't get up on each platform and say, I'm going to give you a lesson in civics so that you can understand what you're looking for in a politician and how you help drive the country forward in the decisions that you make to vote and who you're going to vote for. So this is why I have embarked on this challenge, is so that I can help to share some of this very valuable information with our community members so that they can make informed decisions to help to drive the country forward in the direction that it should go.
Yeah, man. And I commend you for that, because I think when I reflect on what you just shared, right, and maybe, if you allow me, I'll probably weigh in a bit, uh, hesitant slightly, because for two reasons I may share, but we'll hold on to that. But in the absence of having it in our schools formally, there are two things I would maybe ask you to consider. One is, when we have seen in the teaching of civics, it's sort of government structures slash politics, and it's about other systems. The teacher at that time maybe giving an example from her home country, you know, as opposed to the governor's model in Cayman, for instance. But it's just about, who is the president or the premier or the chief minister, the prime minister, whatever the title is in that home country. And it's just a general overview. But really, how does it relate to us here? But more importantly, though, I was thinking of our songs, for instance. I love listening to Sparrow, right, the Mighty Sparrow. And when you were sharing two songs, immediately came to mind, the one that he was talking about where, when he was in school, similarly, did not really teach you much. And the little nursery rhymes and other things that, they teach you. How useful is that anyway? Why not teach you some other stuff? And this is Calypsonian, whose commentary I think has been very, very instructive. And then his other song was about the breakup of the Federation and sort of the history in song about some of the things that transpired, whether you want to keep the bauxite, who's going to keep the oil, and whichever. And that's the sort of importance of music, but in particular calypso, and many of us here can relate to it. So even there's an element of civics education, or the acknowledgement of the lack of it. in our education system in the way we're failing to instruct, or how we are actually instructing our people. Um, and his comment should not go unnoticed. When he said, the colonizers talk about, first you don't succeed, you try again, but they may have won attempt at federation. Was it really an attempt, a genuine attempt? So, in your perspective, maybe when we come back from this break, Ms. Katina, let's quickly pause and take a break. You guide us in the conversation as we continue to invite and involve people in understanding our civics and civics education. For those listening, please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Healthcare Pharmacy cares about your health throughout COVID-19 regulations. Our Grand Harbor location is open from Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Our Governor Square Pharmacy on 7 Mile Beach is open from Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Please ensure you wear a mask when entering our pharmacies and practice safe distancing. Call ahead to refill your prescriptions or go to www.healthcarepharmacy.ky to refill and transfer prescriptions online. You can also WhatsApp your refill or transfer 329-7313.
Join the University College of the Cayman Islands admission team for their webinar, a step-by-step guide on how to apply to UCCI this fall 2020 semester. It's happening Friday, June 26th at 12 noon. Get the answers you need to make your admission process easy. Visit ucci.edu.ky to register. That's ucci.edu.ky.
Attention parents and guardians. Don't forget that registration for students enrolling in or transferring to government schools for the 2020-21 school year closes on Friday, June 26. To register, please email edu.registration@gov.ky or call Mr. James Watler at 244-1841 or 916-3779 or find the registration link on Facebook at Education Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. As we talk about civics and civics education, we have the excellent company of Ms. Katina Anglin. Ms. Katina, there is a caller joining us. So as we continue discussion, let's first welcome our caller. Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for sharing with us today.
Good afternoon to caller.
Sterling Dwayne, am I on?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for sharing.
Little beep or whatever it is.
Hold on.
Good afternoon.
Let me apologize. Let me get it for you. Ready?
Apologize.
You sure? Ding, ding, ding.
Yes, I can hear you.
Always appreciate you sharing this, sir.
Yes. Good afternoon to Miss Anglin also.
Good afternoon, sir.
Very important topic talking about here. Before I get into that, just say real quickly, I'm very happy to hear of the National Seafarers Day yesterday and so forth, and with Mr. Tibbetts, my friend there, and
yes,
there are some, of course, and I heard about there being attempts to translocate others. Very important other seafarers who are not mentioned regularly. I don't know why. My own father, late Captain Vidal Hurston. It would take me about 3 or 4 hours to relate his accomplishments and achievements. And he had both licenses, which I have them here at home with me in memorial to him and his captain's navigational book, a huge book from 1926, and a great geographer book that he bought on his journey when he was sailing the Big Five as a sailor, a young man on the Big Five masted steel hull ships up in Carolina, so forth. Anyhow, just to say there are others also, because my father had both licenses, captain, master mariners, and shipwright. Then he was one of the 4 carpenters on the gold field. The other two of them have been mentioned. Is one that I didn't hear also, Mr. Locke mentioned. Anyway, be that as it may, one of these days we'll get to it, or I may be able to relate to it on the radio, a lot of the things that he accomplished and did. And just like to say, I'm glad you define the difference in the temporal part of life and the political part and so forth. Of course, the temporal is something dealing with the temporal activities on Earth, and as one definition of it and so forth, besides precluded from the clerical part and all that. But there's one thing that we have to, an important thing that I keep stressing all the while, and it seems to be missing when any conversation comes up about politics, civics, the judiciary, and the administrative aspects of our government and so forth. That important ingredient is that we're a crown colony or a crown territory. We keep saying our this and our that and our, when we know the crown land is government land. It's called crown land. Crown land, Her Majesty's land. And also it's Her Majesty's government in the Cayman Islands. We are the political arm of it, Caymanians are. And the administrative arm, there are many civil servants in there who are Caymanians also. There are some who are not. And then, of course, at the head of all this is the British governor sent here, an administrative or commissioned or governor. All 3 terms have been used. The last one is governor now, and His Excellency Mr. Rope, a great man, I met him several times. That there is an aspect of our system that we seemingly keep to forget to talk about and explain to people. We don't have to go into the great controversial or the comprehensive or really the aspects of it that are very, very complex and so forth. But the simple thing to be explained is that we are unlike many of the countries around us that are independent countries, where their elected representatives have full control over the system.
Okay, Mr. Hurlston,
and that's all I really wanted to say, that we need to explain
if you could stay
that.
on the line.
I'll stay on the line for a couple of minutes.
Stay on the line for just a moment for me. I think you are one of the people who I appreciate most in this country when it comes down talking about civics and political guidance and political education and all of it. And what you are talking about.
I'm not an educated person, ma'am.
No, you may not be an academically educated person.
Whatever it is.
But education is much. I think that's another discussion that we can have is when we start talking about what is education and what is intelligence. Is a whole entire discussion all on its own. And there are many who are not. There are many.
Yes, sir.
There are many who are not academically educated, but they possess intelligence that astounds me in many fields. So going back to what you were talking about just now, though, what you're talking about is the structure of government and its governmental functions and so on, which is a discussion that you do intend to have, hopefully in session 2, which should addresses what is government and its purpose and the different forms of government. And so I hope to be looking at stuff like the parliamentary, what is democracy, what is an oligarchy, and what sort of government do we truly have here in Cayman and so on. For what I'd like to focus on today is the citizen role in this.
Yes,
because we are the ones who go in the box and we put our X down beside somebody's name. And many times we voting for somebody because our grandfather voted for them, and our father voted for them, and our mother voted for them. Many people vote blindly because they don't even know really what they're supposed to be looking for in a politician.
I understand you.
And so this is what I would like to focus on today. But I am hopeful that when it comes around to the discussions about the governmental structure, that you would, I believe you would, willingly participate in that discussion with us, Mr. Hurlston.
Yeah, maybe not. The thing is this, what I'd like to, you just said something that's important. Because we often say we should listen to the advice of our mother and our father and our grandfather and take your sage advice. So if they were to say to us, I think you should vote for so-and-so, what's so wrong with accepting their advice and doing that? This is a thing that we could argue till the cows come home. But, you know, it's the way we have been conditioned to think, and not even say conditioned, that we look around us and we think about
if I may,
and we just do.
Sorry, let me just interrupt, but also extend the invitation. Since we have the news now, let's just pause and take that. Give our listeners a chance to weigh in. And Mr. Hurlston, if you have time, as Ms. Katina offered, join us after the break, because that advice and recommendation that you were sharing is something that we should look at and accept. The question to ask, is there a point in time that we can respectfully say, okay, well, why? And what about this? Respectfully, please stay on and join us after the news break.
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
Let's spread the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Cayman Islands Ministry and Department of Tourism receive more than 2,000 applications for the Displaced Tourism Employees Stipend since the launch of the relief program on May 21st. Officials say the validation process for all submissions is in process and is anticipated to be complete the first week of July. In international news, presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden said if elected president, he would make wearing a face covering in public compulsory, furthering himself on the issue from President Donald Trump, who has stressed that masks are voluntary and has flouted public health recommendations. Millions of children could be pushed to the brink of starvation in Yemen amid a huge drop in aid caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, a major UN charity warns. UNICEF says it needs almost $500 million to save children in a country the UN declared the world's worst humanitarian crisis. So far, it has received well under half that amount. Some 2 million children are acutely malnourished in Yemen, which has been devastated by 5 years of war. Splash Mountain, one of Disney's most popular but problematic rides based on the controversial 1946 film Song of the South, will be completely reimagined. The move comes amid fans urging Disney to retheme because of the racial stereotypes from the film, which has long been criticized for its stereotypical and offensive portrayals of African Americans, as well as a romanticized view of the antebellum South. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us as we have the excellent company in our capacity as the sort of public relations education officer. I'm going to throw in education officer for you as well, Ms. Katina Anglin, the Christian Association of Civics. Make sure I get that right for us. And,
Public relations officer.
yeah, I got public relations and education officer,
Okay,
How about
you
that?
go. You go right
Okay.
ahead. I'll pass that across to the
You,
board and say, Dwayne said.
that's right. It's better than Simon says. But no. And I maybe I can ask of you because for those who are joining us and respectful to the caller that still there, I this is sort of an endeavor at the NPO. Maybe tell us a little bit about it at some point, and a number of different education sessions in order to educate people about civics and civics education, and we'll go through. But how easily it is that discussion of civics quickly turns elections and campaigning and politics, So
And it's, sorry if I can cut you right there because I'm in a rush to really answer that question, right? Because it is impossible for you to separate civics and politics. You have to keep those. Then you're having the discussions. You have to keep them into very carefully contained sections, but they're interrelated. All right? And this is what civics is all about. Civics is about being civics is the role that is played by citizens in the country in which they are in, which oversees the action of the government so that you can avoid the imposition of arbitrary governmental powers on the citizens, right? And citizens are able to do this by understanding what their role is, accepting that role, and taking an active, taking action on that role. And when you're talking about guiding the country, you're talking about electing the right people for the post for elected representatives. You're talking about understanding what each department and section of government does.
Right.
Because you don't need to be calling DEH when you should have been calling DOE. So you need to understand the difference between functions in the executive. Right?
Right. And instead of calling RCAPS, you call DOE if it's an issue like that as well. Knowing where to go, right? Not forgive me, Jack. I want to come back to that idea of imposition of arbitrary government powers on the citizens, but we have another caller. Join us, Ms. Katina. Let's invite that caller to be a part of the discussion. And apologies to Mr. Hudson. I think he somehow got lost in transition. Let's go to the phones though. Welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. I'm so glad that I got hold of you today, and good afternoon to your guest.
Good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon too, Mom. And I'm glad that I wasn't running that fast that you couldn't catch me. So.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. But I hope that you had a very good Father's Day, because I was trying to catch you from last week to wish you that, and also OC. And I feel so bad because OC was one of them that I went to school with some long time ago, but no age.
He must have been in there a couple of years ahead of you, though.
A little bit, but OC was a gentleman.
Years old as OC.
Yes. Anyway, I'm understanding what your guest is saying, what Miss Tina is saying, but I would like to know what time, in particular in West Bay, that we really had a representative in West Bay that say these are my people. These are West Bay is all of my people, not just one or two or all four saying my people in so and so, and I got to look out for my people in so and so, because we voted them in to represent the whole of us, not just a few that is given personal things every month or every weekend, and that is going on right now. Some of them are still running around with food given away and reminding people that they are running for this post and the next post and the next post. Where is the responsibility? Let's put it this way. Where is the responsibility to the mental people? I'm speaking about West Bay because that's where I come from, that is still running around. Some of them don't even have food. Some of them don't have shelter, but our departments in government, like needs assessment and social services, that is trying their best, their very best, to take care of these people, and the money is given to some of their families, and their families spend it on all kinds of things except for the person that is mentally sick. Why I'm saying that? Because I have a mental cousin, and she's been that way now for 40-odd years. She would go Foster's, or she would go to the store 3 times a day. She's not violent. She walks it. No one stops to give her a ride. No one stopped to say, well, it looks like it's going to rain, darling. You get in here. She is kind of cautious of who. But I know that for a fact, because even though we have a big family, I am the one that takes her up and down to doctors and stuff. But I would like to know which representative would stop to give her a ride, and we need to remind them who put them there. How come they're getting a paycheck? Why are they getting a paycheck? Because we put them there. And then when you get on the radio like me now and talk about it, then one of them in particular gets on the radio and say, yeah, but I know that she didn't vote for me. Yeah, but look, you are representative of the people. And we have our duty to remind you at all times who put you there. We have that duty to remind you that you take care or be responsible to represent all the people, not just some of the people. And that is what is happening in Cayman, and in particular in West Bay, because I know it is going on. It's slapping you in the face all the time, and then you're headed by that representative because you didn't vote for him or her. In many cases, it's usually a him. And me personally, if some improvement is not made about things like that they are responsible for, like the mental people, like getting a hurricane shelter that was promised 17 years ago in West Bay. What's the sense of voting? What's the sense of voting?
If
really?
I can, Mom.
Yes, Mom.
I hear your frustration. And your last question, you asked some questions that actually answered your own questions. And the questions you asked earlier was about, what time you can call them up and hold them responsible and so on. And those are the actions that those are civic actions that citizens supposed to be taking. Yes, do you remember that you worked for me, that I voted you in, that you made promises to me? You have a manifesto, which is your legally binding document to this community, and so on, right? What is the sense in voting is the greatest, defeatist question that we are living with in our society today, because we have not made sound, informed decisions before, and we stayed on the treadmill of voting for the same people expecting a different result, and we did it over and over and over because they kept promising and promising, and we didn't hold them accountable to their promises. You're talking about a 17-year-old promise for a hurricane shelter. Well, look at the school that we have started in West Bay, in Birch Tree Hill. We were supposed to have a boxing gym down here, which got relocated to Georgetown, yes. But the sports complex that we were promised from 1984 still hasn't been built. We still have the same size clinic from 1992 with no additional doctors, but with a growing population. So what is the sense in voting? The question is not what is the sense in voting. The question really truly is, how do we change the way we vote so that we can bring the change that we desire to see in West Bay and the rest of our communities? And this is one of the benefits of being educated civically, because you understand what you're looking for when you go to political meetings and they're up there and they're putting out all their jargon and they're throwing all this at you with a strong understanding of civics. Then you begin to be able to filter through all that and ask valuable questions of each and every candidate, and you know how to hold them accountable. Civics education gives people the knowledge they need to make informed decisions as they listen to politicians' campaign speeches and read news stories about people running for office, right? And some of this information I'm reading out now is available online. If you visit civicsonline.org, a lot of the information I'm providing on this show is information that is available to the general public. And we need to get smarter about how we have been voting, because things are getting worse in our communities. We're not seeing an increase in the standard of living. We have an increase in drug addicts. We have an increase in homelessness. We have an increase in our mental health care cases. COVID-19 just came along and knocked quite a few people quite hard. Financially, emotionally, mentally, in a whole lot of different ways, but there was no sudden rebuttal for the impact of COVID-19 in our community as it should have been, because we should have been prepared for a what-if situation such as this. Now, it is unique, and I have my own thoughts about COVID-19 and so on, but what can't change is this. We can't change the fact that we have, for many, many years, made the same mistake over and over. And I am telling you straight up today that I am looking for a change. I have now moved into a mantra called no more excuses, because I can't handle another promise, nor can I handle another excuse for why nobody got their work done. Because I have to give account to my employer, and I have to give account to my God for my time for each day. I don't get the right to have excuses. And I don't see where it is that we, as the electorate, should sit down and permit excuses any longer. Listen, at the end of the day, they in that house up there because we went inside of one little booth and put down a pencil X. And that's a very, very powerful action that we took. But what we need to do as the people is we need to maintain our action. We took that action because they said they would do that. You gave me a promise, you maintain it. I'm going to make sure that you maintain it, right? If I can't give you my telephone number because I believe that the woman that you are talking of is a woman that I help as often as I see her on the road. My number is 922-6644. And if it is, I have a couple of questions about continued care for her, and I wasn't sure who to reach out to. So I thank God for this conversation today. Do you have a pen?
No, not really, because I'm on the road, even though my husband is driving, but I don't. But we soon be home, so I would not mind if you would repeat that number and
at the end of the show.
Yes, that would be a good. No.
Listen, don't you go losing hope about why we should vote. Listen, let me tell you what you do. You go into that polling booth with a brand new hope. You go into that polling booth and say, this X I put in here today, I put in this X for change. I put in this X for betterment. I put in this X for the empowerment of my future generations. Because we have to be wise and we have to look towards their futures. Our parents have given us some guiding knowledge. The man was speaking just now about accepting the advice given from our parents. Listen, I learned took my licks and admit that if I listened to my mother about a lot of things, right, I wouldn't have went through so much. And the wisdom that she has, I'm just on my way to receiving. I'm half her age, right? But there comes a time when we need to look at things for our own selves and say, well, Mama, let's talk about this a bit more, because in this day and age, here's what I see that's really needed. And we can have open, informed discussions. But I think that we need to look forward. We need to vote looking forward and not looking behind, because we have the generation that preceded us and the generation that is succeeding us. And the generation that preceded us, they voted with us in mind, you know. We now need to vote with our children in mind and our grandchildren in mind. What exactly am I doing when I vote for this individual? Do I believe that individual holds the same value? As a matter of fact, do I believe that individual is going to fulfill the promises that he or she made? Let me look at their past record. How much things on this list has a check mark? How many times did I see them after they got elected? How many community meetings did they have? How much impact have they actually had towards homelessness and employment rates and so on?
Now you're talking. Now you're talking, Miss
right.
Tina.
So this is what I want to help us to understand, right? Is what is civics, what is our role, and how we act on the role that we have, because we have a responsibility in that as well, to vote for the persons who are going to make a betterment for our country, not for ourselves in the present, but for ourselves in the future and for our future generations as well.
Yes, that's Tina, what you're saying is all true, but that is all talk, because I'm old enough to be your mother, and when I tell you, I'm telling you who I am. I'm Patrick's mother, and Patrick and you went to school together. But I've heard those stories before by people that was running for election and became our representatives. They were all smart in talking what they're going to do for the District of West Bay or what they're going to do for Cayman. And guess what happened? They turned out like this team had special people to give to. And then when you talk about it, even on the radio that they can hear, you talk about it to your friends. They turn around, then they hate you, then they turn around and do not even act like a representative that you can feel proud of. Because like you said before, you're not voting for just you, because you've seen that before. Like me, I've seen that before over and over and over again. They're smart talkers. Then you're voting for your children, grandchildren, and maybe even your great-grandchildren, because our forefathers did that so we may have a better life. But it's not like that in Cayman anymore. And
Can I tell you why?
When you see that sort of thing that's going on, like I said, they hate you. They don't talk to you no more. They never have meetings. Look at what's happening now. Supposing, God forbid, and I believe there is a merciful, loving, Almighty that try to guide us every day. If this turns backwards to us, what are we going to do? Where are we going to put our people? We have nowhere to put our people, but yet they don't get on the radio and talk about this. They do not have meetings even before this, I would call it a plague, before this coronavirus. Nothing like that has ever happened. And then when I talk to some of my friends, you know what they say? They say, "Oh yeah, but he or she, mostly the he, is helping so and so." I'm sick and tired of hearing that.
Okay, but can I help you to understand where we have gone wrong? And can you help me to help other people to understand this so that we can begin to change it? I'm going to make an analogy, but I want first to say that I am not referring this to call any human being imaginary or real in a society a dog. But I want to use this correlation, right? I have a dog. When I take my dog off the leash, he begins to run around. He's all over in the land, okay? When I see that he has gone far enough for long enough, I call him back, and I put the leash back on him, and I walk him back to his house. Now listen, if we see that government or elected representatives are beginning to misbehave, that they're not fulfilling their obligations and carrying out the duties that they have been entrusted to, it is our responsibility as the people to bring them back into check. What has happened is when they start to skip off to the side, when they are skidding, they haven't even fallen yet. When they begin to step off the track, when they begin to skid, we pull back and say, "See, that's the same thing I told you. I knew that exactly what he was going to do," rather than going and tapping him on his shoulder and saying, "Boy, you look like you're getting ready to run off the track." So I want to remind you of the conversations that me and you had. I want to remind you of your campaign meetings. I want to remind you of your manifesto. I want to remind you that I too have the power to remove you. Okay? But what do special interests? What do special interest groups do? Special interest groups go tap him on his shoulder and say, "Hey, come, I'd like to talk to you, because I have a goal I want to accomplish. This is the position that you have, and this is how you're going to help make it work." All right? But the people in themselves throw their hands in the air and think that they are victims to uncontrollable government. That is a fallacy, and it is something that we need to set aside. We need to understand who we are. We need to understand the limitations of government itself. And every citizen has a constitutional right that cannot be taken away or violated. So when we're talking about not having certain things in place, or rights of mental patients being violated and so on, that is because we have not taken grip on the reins. We have left the horse to run wild out in the field. Okay?
You're right. You're right.
I can
absolutely
understand.
right.
I appreciate everybody's frustration with this situation. I totally understand it. I appreciate it, but I'm not willing to accept it and tolerate it any longer. The time has come for us to change the way we think and the way that we vote. We are the people. Democracy is about people power, the power of the people. That is what democracy means. Democracy is not about the power of the government. The government is subservient to the people, and we need to get this thing through our head, because we are running around defeated when in actual fact we're the victors. We are the ones who have the power, but we don't understand the power.
You can say that again, because I know of certain politicians that have made some of my generations good for nothings that used to work before, that used to hold jobs before, but they made them believe, "Come around my house and I'll give you this and that, and I'll give you this and that, so I don't need to work anymore." And now facing their responsibilities of their families and their little children that is looking up to them for guidance and support. I know all of that.
Have we been wronged as a people by many people in power? If you were to start writing stories on that, the country would go into a shock. Trust me. Right?
Yeah, yes, darling, I know that.
We think we need to change the things we do, and we all have to understand our power.
I understand my power. Thanks, Dwayne, for a good talk, and thanks, Tina. It was good talking to you, and we just got to keep God in mind.
That's right.
And always pray to Him for guidance. Guidance is what we need.
And remember also that in James, we learn this in James chapter 2, that faith without works is dead. So we pray to God, we get the guidance, and then you make use of the guidance.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Listen out for the number, write it down, and give me a call, because I know exactly who we're talking about. Now, looking forward to your call later on, yeah?
Okay. I'm ready with the number. We just drove in.
All right. You listen for the number to come at the end of the show.
Okay.
But thank you very much, Mom, for calling.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Thank you for your call.
You're most welcome. And thank you too for the well wishes, and then publicly extend them to your, excellent husband as well. So, Ms. Katina, I see where this conversation can continue uninterrupted but respectful. Let's pause and take a short break. But I say again what I said earlier. Every time we have a discussion about civics, how it easily, and I appreciate you sharing how it, is interconnected. The political aspect of the participation in the electoral process and getting registered to vote and voting for people. We've got a number of comments from our WhatsApp that I'll read maybe after the break. But when we come back, maybe we can sort of return to the actual script of education. What is civics and what is civics education? What's the importance? We invite you to maybe share more with us, because you're just so informed and such a wonderful person to listen to. So after the break, we talk more.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, to our listeners, please join us. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Obey the laws and wear the gauze. Protect your jaws from septic paws. Stay clean, K-Man. Reflection sells hand sanitizer from $2.99. 10 surgical masks are only $9.99. And the best KN95 masks from only $3.30. Volume discounts available at all 5 Liquor for Less locations. Shedden Road, North Church Street, Savannah, Northside, and the McClendon Drive Airport location. Don't miss the Liquor for Less incredible lockdown price markdowns. Hundreds of fine from $2.99. Cases of ice cold below wholesale prices. Save $9 off liters of. Enjoy our manager specials exclusively at Liquor for Less. Prices so low, we can't say them on the radio. Liquor for Less enforces the wearing of masks, social distancing, and preventative measures to help stop the spread of COVID-19, such as consistent hand washing and only leaving home for essential purposes.
Join the University College of the Cayman Islands admission team for their webinar, a step-by-step guide on how to apply to UCCI this fall 2020 semester. It's happening Friday, June 26th at 12 noon. Get the answers you need to make your admission process easy. Visit ucci.edu.ky to register. That's ucci.edu.ky.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
It's not Tool Fest at A.L. Thompson's, but it's almost as good. Tool Fest has been an annual 2-day event since 2009, but because of current events, there will be no live demos. But that's okay, because what will be at Not Tool Fest is the deepest discounts of the year on select hand tools and power tools for 3 weeks. Save big on tools by Makita, Milwaukee, Bosch, Skill, Dremel, and other power brands, and get 15% off all items in the tools department now through July 4th. Remember that Father's Day is June 21st, so give them a big boy toy from A.L. Thompson's during Not Tool Fest.
Wow, looks good. What is that?
Chicken chair.
What did you just say to me?
Chicken chair.
I am not a chicken.
Whoa! I said chicken share. It's from KFC. Bucket of 12 hot wings, 6 pieces of chicken, or 8 tenders. KFC chicken share. Just $12 each.
Oh.
Want some chicken, tenders, or hot wings?
You're sharing your chicken share with me?
The new chicken share from KFC, just $12 each, and it's finger-licking good. Dine at KFC Baytown Plaza, KFC Shedden Road, or KFC at the Strand.
Green Turtle. Modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Hi, this is Danny Coleman, Director of Hazard Management Cayman Islands. We are now in the hurricane season, and for information on how to prepare and stay safe, please visit our website, www.caymanprepared.ky. Some top tips to bear in mind, given that we are still in the midst of COVID-19. Please make sure you have a mask and sanitizer, you have food supplies that last for 3 to 5 days, a portable radio, personal hygiene and sanitation items, and medical supplies, and any other specific items your family may need during a hurricane. Make sure you know where you will shelter in the event of a storm. If you have pets, please make sure provisions are in place for them too, as the majority of shelters will not take pets. Please visit our website for more tips and tricks on www.caymanprepared.ky or call us on 945-4624. Stay safe, Cayman.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you all very much for joining us. And as we've seen from our comments from our callers, that the interest, I would say the hunger for civics education is paramount, very timely. Very, very grateful to Ms. Katina Anglin for joining us as the Public Relations Officer for the Christian Association for Civics. I've sort of extended the title to Public Relations and Education Officer. So Ms. Katina, in a voluntary capacity and an NPO unpaid, I give you more responsibilities. So hope you don't mind.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind at all. Let me tell you what the full name of this NPO is, right?
Yes,
it is the Christian Association for Civics and Political Education. You didn't really know what you were saying when you were saying it, but I thought just now, I said, let me give them the full long name of this,
yes.
right? And our purpose and vision is a bit larger than just helping persons to understand civics and accepting their role as a citizen, but being a good citizen also, right? Dwayne, I need to make a declaration to the public here. Right now, I had a format that this was going by.
You did.
See, after each section I covered, I was going to quote the source that I got it from, right? But it hasn't quite gone as planned, but it's gone along quite beautifully, right? And it's been a very engaging discussion so far. But I just want the public to know that the information that I am using has been drawn from several different sources. I have used Encyclopedia Britannica. I've also researched Wikipedia for subjects such as civics and stuff. There's a lot of information on Wikipedia that you can get, so you can get at least a superficial understanding of civics. You don't need to sign up for a $20,000 course at a well-renowned, world-renowned university costing you $40,000 in political science to understand what civics is all about. You can get a lot of this information free online. You can start it right at wikipedia.com. Then another site that I also used was civicsonline.org. And some of the quotes that I was using with the last caller actually did come from that very website itself. But I am making an offer to anyone who would like to get a copy of this material today. All they have to do is send me an email at caymanchristiancivics@gmail.com, and I will provide them with this information so that they know exactly where to go and how to use it. And I encourage them, they get it, share it. Get it and share it so that we can learn and we can overcome these challenges that we have faced for days, weeks, months, years, and decades. Because the change really, the change is not in the Legislative Assembly. The change is right here within each and every one of us, the way that we think regarding civics and our role, and the fact that some of us don't even know that we have a civics role. So, if I can just encourage the young lady who called just now, and she said that, she was so sorry because she hadn't called you in OC and so on and so forth and everything. She didn't realize it was really a case that it was a case of saving the best for last. So everybody else had cluttered, your inbox with all the messages, and now here she was just giving you yours publicly,
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for saying that, because I think as I listen to you, and I've shared this with you, and I hope not to embarrass you, but we need more champions in our society who are going to encourage our people, help us to be educated, informed, to at least ask questions. And I really appreciate you for what you've done, as you referenced the call earlier, for the love that she has for our community. For me, it falls so easily on the ears because you can hear her heart. If she wishes you, happy Father's Day, or happy birthday, or just a happy day, there's a sincerity in that, and that's a sincereness that we sense in our people when they ask you how you're doing. And I think her particular sentiments just then really struck, because it's been a challenging time for all of us, and Father's Day has come and gone. And with the greatest of respect, normally I would have reached out to so many more to wish them. I didn't either. Just very busy, almost buried, as it were. And there are those who reached out, but I have not yet responded, because when I go to, it's just too late. It's way past what your parents would say is a decent hour, right?
Yeah.
And so the next day, well, it's a little too early now. When is that time? And I say that to share that you did say at the outset, while you're talking, you made reference to the website in order to get stuff, but it just shows not only how professional and respectful you are, but the willingness to share that information so people can reference it, not just to show that you're not taking something and passing it off, but you taking it and saying, here's where it is, here's where you can go and get it. And then if you can't, come to me, and let's take it, look at it, and share it with other people, because it has a meaning. Are you there, Miss Tino? Okay. See how this technology works, man. Sometimes if you were of the mindset to believe that when things start to go good and they start to get interesting, you see how they interrupt, but you never know. All right. I believe we have lost again the telephone connection. Mr. Carl, if I could ask you publicly, are you there, Mr. Coutinho?
I am back again.
Okay. It's amazing, huh? It's amazing. It's amazing. I won't say anything else.
Listen, let us not get into it. Can you hear me, Dwayne?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
We don't know where the fault in this connection lies, right? All we know is that we're going to connect and reconnect, and we're going to stay connected somehow.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
as long as we're alive, we have that opportunity to be connected. So
Yeah.
all is
There, we do have a caller online. I know, as you shared, you've had, some information that you want to share with us to set the tone, and it didn't go as you had planned, but hopefully it's been organic enough that it's been informative and hopefully transformative. We've got a number of comments. Respectfully, we do have another caller. I think Mr. Fox is telling us let's
let
just take the call. That's
let's
fine.
let's take the call, because I still may be
Yes.
able to cover a lot of the stuff from
Yeah,
my
man.
plan in
Let's
the
do it.
calls
Let's do
themselves.
it.
So yeah.
Exactly. A very pleasant good afternoon to you. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, it's a very interesting discussion that you're coagulating there today.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon
Good
to you. How are
afternoon,
you?
sir.
And I think that's always been a big drawback here within this community, the whole CI community, is the civics education, and it's probably still very lacking in the schools as far as I am aware of, and I think until we get it in the schools at the grassroots level, then what has been perpetuated over the last, I want to say 100 years, 150 years, will just keep being perpetuated on down the way, because some of those folks that are talking now, it took them 50 years to get up to scratch, and once you reach that that level, you're three quarter home from the start to the finish. So you really never get to I guess fulfill what might have been the thoughts and desires of these people. And I think one of your callers earlier, I guess it was Mr. Hurston. I think education is the key to all of this, and it's not only educating about the as far as the civics avenue goes, but on the other things. I mean, I think it was Mr. Holston that mentioned that who has control, and I think until it's widely recognized that the law of the political jungle is, if you're expecting something, then you got to expect some control. And and that's the way the wheel has turned, I guess, in the world for centuries. And democracy, is the best tool that I think anybody has come up with to guide us forward in some relatively, let's say, balanced and we want to call it good process. But again, if you're not willing to defend the democracy, because democracy and civics is all really tied in there all together. I mean, how many people? How many? Let me just get this in. How many people do you think in this Cayman Island society realize that yesterday was the 70th anniversary? Yeah, the 70th anniversary of the start of the Korean War. Now, you bring the Korean War into it, okay? That was just one of the little conflicts, flare-ups over the last 100 years that have been able to keep democracy sort of between the lines moving forward. Now, how is it going to connect to Cayman? I don't know, and I'm sure there were people in other districts, but right from the district from Marams down Northwest Point and around up to the Hidabacas, there were probably Lauren Reed. There were probably, I would say, at least 15 Cayman young men that was over there in Korea, putting their life on the line, defending democracy. It could have been more than that. I mean, the image, one of the images still is very prominent in my mind, is seeing Keith Yates, who, he lived up right at the foot of what's now Regional Parsons Drive. Come home just overnight. Back in those days, the flights used to come in the evening, go to Jamaica, come back through in the morning, and go back up to Tampa. He came home overnight just to see his parents. He was on his way to Korea. And, you know, you've got to have people who will defend democracy and get the civics education going so that there's an understanding of how all of this stuff is coagulated.
Yes,
because it does not stand alone on its own, what people say, own 2 feet.
You're very right about that, sir.
Can I trying hard to, you know, be mindful of the breaks that we've put in, and also ensure our listeners we can continue the discussion, but if you allow, let's just take this final break of this segment, and then we can continue right after. That's a good point to maybe meditate on as we go to the break. Please stay tuned.
These are stressful times. We can all use a little break from the stress.
I got ice cream for you.
Did you know, according to Science Times, eating ice cream in moderation can help reduce stress? You're not dreaming. You heard correct. Ladies, gentlemen, and kids alike, Cayman Ice Cream is here to save your day. With home delivery of the best homemade ice cream on the island. Quality assurance guaranteed. $10 half-gallon tubs of grape nut, rum and raisin, vanilla, cookies and cream, banana, strawberry, and Guinness. Call 323-0861 to place your Cayman Ice Cream order now and feel the stress melt away. Indulge in your dreams today. Cayman Ice Cream, 323-0861.
Cayman Ice Dream is also available in all supermarkets.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
You may be home isolating, but your taste buds can explore the world. Dragon Inn Restaurant and Countryside Plaza, offering savory dishes in traditional, authentic, American, Szechuan, Mandarin, Filipino cuisine, and Cantonese style, made fresh daily. Family dinner specials, rich in taste with no MSG. Choose from stir fry, chop suey, chow mein, sweet and sour, and so much more. Call 947-1166. Pick up Monday to Saturday from 10:30 a.m. until 7 p.m. Delivery 7 days per week until 9 p.m. Dragon Inn Restaurant and Countryside Plaza. Daily lunch specials and combinations, bringing international deliciousness to your doorstep. Call 947-1166 to place your order.
Vant Motors and RBC Royal Bank are making it easy for you to buy your new car or truck. The Spring into Summer Sale at Vant Motors is going on now with no money down and no monthly payments for up to 12 months on select models only. That's no monthly payments for up to 12 months or until June 2021 on select models only. Offer ends June 30th. Find out how you can drive home the best deal of the year and call VAMP at 949-8288 or email sales@vampmotors.com.
BIP, messaging made simple. Keep the good times going, even when you're social distancing. Message, call, or video chat with friends, family, co-workers, anyone. Video chat with 10 people at the same time. Send secret messages, translate multiple languages, and you get free app messaging available only on the Digicel network. It's your call, so make the most of it with BIP. Stay connected, start living, get BIPing. Download BIP today.
When interacting with domestic violence offenders,
Be aware, most perpetrators act out what was modeled for them and have not developed effective interpersonal conflict resolution skills.
Listen and realize that if a perpetrator discloses offending behavior, there is shame involved. If an offender is telling you there's a problem, they're taking a great risk by doing so and are showing trust in you.
Try not to judge. Instead, encourage them to seek professional help.
Advise them. If you think the situation is volatile, encourage them to find temporary accommodations away from the survivor.
And be honest with the domestic violence perpetrator. If he or she blames the victim, remind them that domestic violence is never okay.
For more information about domestic violence,
contact the Department of Counseling Services on 949-8789 or the Department of Community Rehabilitation on 949-1693 in Grand Cayman or 948-1521 in Cayman Brac.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And again, a very special thanks to Ms. Katina Anglin in the capacity today as the Public Relations Officer for the Christian Association for Civics and Political Education. Ms. Katina, did I get the full title this time? Is that what it is?
You did, but we will stick with the Christian Association for Civics, which we are allowed to abbreviate for the purpose of this education initiative, so that we don't get too mixed up when we're discussing issues.
Okay, perfect. And I know that our caller, I try to be mindful when the caller doesn't identify him or herself, not to, do so outside. But such a prominent person with such a pronounced voice. Sir, thank you for joining us, man. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. If I could ask you, right, if it's okay with Ms. Katina, something that I've noticed both from all the calls and all of the messages we've received thus far, and to the messengers who are saying I haven't read their messages yet, it's not deliberate, right? I mean, that I've omitted it. They all seem to, what Ms. Katina referenced earlier, to weave the discussion of civics and civics education and in with politics. And I think that shows how interconnected, how important it is. But if I could, again, I'm mindful of the time, as you were reminding us of the need to champion democracy, to see the ultimate sacrifice to protect and preserve our freedoms. If I'm looking just at the US and the UK, just specifically those two countries, and given their, sort of aligned political and economic sort of, tendencies since World War II, even if we don't go back any further than that, right? And recognizing that now during this thing that we're facing, the language that is being used, words like staying in place, shelter in place, those are wartime terminology, right? We're seeing the seemingly affront to public freedoms and movements and the like, and seemingly the potential for politically elected people and even some self-imposed people of significant import in their own minds trying to take on judicial, quasi-judicial, or even political roles to further take away freedoms, whether they're well-minded or not. And then when there is a question by a journalist, a politician, a civically minded individual, hey, but is that right? Is that unconstitutional? Is that really the best way forward? Is that we get caught up into this vitriolic, divisive commentary without saying, but wait a minute, is that an affront to democracy? Was that what our fathers and brothers and forefathers fought and died for? And now you just take it away by the stroke of a pen? I I wonder sometimes if, some of us are not being too academic, but equally, if some of us are not just being too, apathetic and ignoring it. Any thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I think if you try to go down the middle of this whole thing, I think it's a political world.
Yes, sir.
You can't get away from that. It's a political world, and I think one of Mahatma Gandhi's quotes on politics, as far as political action, he said the only action with relevance is the right action. Now, referencing what you said, I think, and I would think that there was a little CI strain in there coming through somewhere. I want to put this. I think, as far as we know, as far as we can determine at this point, the action that has been taken has generally been the right action. Now, you might have some on the other side who says, "Well, you can't do this." But again, you go back, and politics and civics and it all falls within the democracy sphere. And what the church will have to say about democracy, I guess one of the at least one of the greatest leaders over the last 150 years, he said democracy is still the worst form of government that he has known that has not yet failed. When you refer it back to communism and socialism and all of this stuff. So it's, I think if people, politicians and civic-minded people always try to do the right thing, then I think this democratic process will survive. And, doing the right thing, sometimes there was a quote that I think Henry Kissinger made simply about the same thing. It was about action, government taking action, and I can't recall it exactly, but it was basically the same premise of what Gandhi said, and that's where we are. But it all lies in educating the populace, and if the politicians are educated to the level that we would think that they should be, because politics is the only profession that you get into without really any qualifications, just about.
Right.
So,
well,
you reflect that now against education for in civics, and where are you at?
Yeah. Yes, sir. And respectfully, we got the news break. We also have the briefing also coming up, sir. With the greatest respect, let us just pause to do that. But when we come back, we can hopefully maybe revisit and wrap it up. So stay tuned, everyone, for Talk Today.
Follow Radio K-Man on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio K-Man. Your 2 p.m. headlines brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man.
It's only 2 species that we have here on Island.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio K-Man's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Students looking to pursue studies at the University College of the Cayman Islands have an easier way of learning about the institution's financial aid opportunities, programs and how to apply to UCCI through a series of new webinars. All prospective students who wish to attend this webinar must register by visiting connect.ucci.edu.ky/register/how to apply. In international news, doctors say the recovery of an Ethiopian man believed to be at least 100 years old from coronavirus is incredible. Abba Tilahan Woldemichael's family says he is 114, which would make him the world's oldest man, but there is no birth certificate to confirm his age. The centenarian is now being looked after at home by his grandson. Native American groups are planning to protest against President Donald Trump's visit to Mount Rushmore at the start of the Independence Day weekend. Activists have long taken issue with the South Dakota monument to former U.S. presidents, which was built on sacred land to the Sioux tribe. The controversial trip comes amid heightened racial tensions nationwide. The United States recorded an all-time daily high of 40,000 coronavirus infections on Thursday. A recent surge in infections and hospitalizations has prompted the states of Texas, Florida, and Arizona to pause reopening plans. These are your latest headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Sollins.
Green Turtle. Modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today, it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Cineco is pleased to announce that our offices in Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac have reopened to the public. Cineco will be open to serve our valued clients from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. until further notice. Recommended physical distancing and enhanced sanitization procedures have been implemented in our offices, and visitors will be required to wear face masks for the safety of all concerned. On behalf of the Cineco team, we look forward to serving you.
Join the University College of the Cayman Islands admission team for their webinar, a step-by-step guide on how to apply to UCCI this fall 2020 semester. It's happening Friday, June 26th at 12 noon. Get the answers you need to make your admission process easy. Visit ucci.edu.ky to register. That's ucci.edu.ky.
Green Turtle. Modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today, it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Help support survivors of domestic violence by believing them. Being there for them is one of the best things that you can do. Listen and hear what they need. Let them tell their story in their own way. When supporting persons experiencing domestic violence, maintain confidentiality. They have trusted you enough to share their story. Don't share it with others. If children are involved, alert the multi-agency safeguarding hub. Being there for survivors also means staying in touch. Create a code word or emoji, so if you receive or hear that from them, you will call 911. To help them, it's vital to talk to survivors about their options and help them to evaluate each one. And finally, remember that you cannot rescue survivors of domestic violence. but you can support them on their own terms. For additional support, please contact the Emergency Services, the Cayman Islands Crisis Center, the Family Resource Center, the Legal Befrienders Clinic, the Needs Assessment Unit in Grand Cayman or Cayman Brac, the Mental Health Helpline, the Kids Helpline, or the Department of Community Rehabilitation.
For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM from 7:30 to 9 a.m. for Cayman's new Straight Talk morning show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record. Brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us, and a special thanks to Miss Katina Anglin for, bearing with us. Certainly, hopefully getting some of the information in relation to civics. Miss Katina, it's been an interesting afternoon and very engaging and informative. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Dwayne, for having me on. A couple of points I'd like to make, but let me ask you a question first. How much time do we have left?
I was just about to say to you that we could be cut any minute, so you may want to give that number, maybe preview what some of the next series and this discussion will be like, and forgive us if we interject quickly to say, here's the...
You have the figure, right? Okay, so let me really speed through this, right? Let me speed through this by addressing a fallacy that was just put out to the public. The one that says we can't teach an old dog new tricks, so we need to start with the younger generation in primary school. No, we need to add them in and we need to teach them as they come up. But we need to get the word out to the population now, because 2021 election is coming up. And if you repeat the same mistake, you're going to live with that for another 4 years. How much more damage is going to be done in that period of time? No, the change begins with us, and we hand it down. We raise our children up with the right ideology towards what is our civic responsibility and what is democracy, which is a definition of a political party that has been around since the 5th century BCE, okay, which defines amongst democracy, which is the people power, amongst other political systems as well. And what I'd like to say about the whole entire civics issue is this, is that until we stop running around believing that we are defeated and that there is no chance at victory, we will be. When we accept that we are able and capable of making a change, accept that we can, and then take action on what we believe and the information that we have gathered, then you begin to make change. But we can't afford to lay back any longer and say it's the politician's fault. It's the politician's fault, because the truth of the matter is it's our fault because it was us who went and voted for the politician. Civic education is the study of the theoretical, political, and practical aspects of citizenship, as well as its rights and its duties. That comes from Wikipedia. So that is why it is. That is why it is that we have the relationship.
Now, Ms. Tino? Okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's press briefing on the coronavirus. I'm Donna Bush. I'm so glad you could join us via our platforms as well as on Radio Cayman. For today's prayer, we're going to go to Pastor Christopher Murray.
Let us pray, everyone. Dear Heavenly Father, we first and foremost want to say how much we appreciate you, how much we praise and adore you, and are grateful for all your guidance and your help. Thank you for the management of the pandemic on these islands, Lord. Thank you for our leaders and our essential workers. We ask that you guide, guard, and lead them continually for the betterment of these islands and for themselves. And Lord God, I ask you, Father, to take up your high seat continually here and be glorified. We also want to express our sincere, heartfelt gratitude for the results of Little Cayman. And dear Father, we ask you for further successes for Cayman Brac and Grand Cayman. We look to you as children to a great Father and subjects to a wonderful Master. Lord, breathe upon these islands and establish your will and grant healing for the nation, healing for our children, healing for our homes, and healing for our leaders. Lord, we thank you so much, for we know the Bible said that God is love. It's not just an attribute, but it is the true definition of who you are. So we look to you even now. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Murray. We now welcome our panelists, His Excellency the Governor, our Honourable Premier, as well as our Honourable Minister of Health. With us in studio are the Chief Medical Officer. We also have from the Ministry of Education, Dr. Shari Smith, Manager of the Scholarship Secretariat, and Tammy Hopkins, the Acting Director of the Department of Education Services. We also have the Acting Director of HMCI, Teresita De Silva, and the Sign Language Interpreter in studio with us. On Zoom, we have the Minister of Education, the Honourable Juliana O'Connor-Connolly, as well as the Chief Officer, Satania Cacho, and Lynette Monteith, the Deputy Chief Officer of Compulsory Education. We're also joined by Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez, the Medical Officer of Health, as well as members of the media. We go first to Dr. Lee.
Good afternoon. I have 391 tests to report today, and they're all negative. That brings the total number of tested to 22,657. In the islands, we have had 196 positive cases all told, with 3 in Cayman Brac. There are no symptomatic people at the moment, 9 asymptomatic, nobody is admitted, and 186 are considered recovered. There are 129 people in government isolation facilities and 22 people in home isolation. 6 people were seen in the flu clinic yesterday and 5 had mild flu-like symptoms. Also in the previous 24 hours, there were 18 calls to the flu hotline, of which only 3 were flu-related. We've recently had quite a few results back from CARFA following confirmatory tests that were sent to them, acting as the reference laboratory for the Health Services Authority. We received 100 reports back. 3 of these were spoiled as the samples had leaked en route. 97 of these had full concordance with the results from the Health Services Authority, which were 9 positive cases and 88 negative cases. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. We have some questions for you. First from the Caymanian Times, Ralph Lewis. Ralph?
Good afternoon, Dr. Lee. Thank you for that very, very good report. Dr. Lee, we have seen some of our Caribbean nations open up their borders and introducing many different protocols. Have you decided what protocols we will put in place when we open our borders?
That decision is not one for me to take. I will be advising the government on the medical position, and then the government will make that decision.
Have you given any advice yet, sir?
Lots of it.
Okay. Can you say what some of the advice is?
None of it's not entirely clear as what's the best course of action. So to be honest, we're watching acutely and keenly what's happening in the neighboring countries who are opening up sooner than us. Clearly, it's of a great deal of concern to me and to everybody else, the fact that the largest number of tourists will come from North America, and in particular from the southern parts of North America, where there is also the greatest outbreak of COVID-19 at the moment. That will change with time, but that clearly is of great concern.
Okay, very good. I look forward to hear what the government will say in later questions. Thank you very much, Doc.
Okay, thank you, Ralph. We're going to go now to the Compass. Kayla is standing by. Kayla, please go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Lee.
Good afternoon.
I wanted to ask about face masks. We've seen people using masks with a valve on them that make it a bit easier to breathe. It releases their breath. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on those masks and their efficacy in preventing the spread of droplets?
I think the information that the government has to produce on masks is on the government website, and I'd take people's attention and ask them to look at that advice there.
Okay, so no thoughts in particular on that design?
No, I am not an expert in mask design. If they're not surgical or medical grade, which of course we know what that standard is, then I would just look at the guidance that's been provided, that it's been provided from multiple agencies around the world. They're largely related to the making of homemade cloth masks rather than any with any particular devices in them. I can't pass comment. I don't think there have been any medical studies looking at these, so I couldn't really give you an educated answer about that.
Okay, thank you. That's all from me.
Okay, thank you, Kayla. We'll go now to CNS. Wendy, please go ahead.
Thank you, Donna. Good afternoon, Dr. Lee. Just a quick one about the antibody testing. Do we have enough yet for you to give us some figures?
Yes, we do, Wendy. I forgot I had that to tell you, so thank you for reminding me. I didn't write them down, but I know that we've got around 383 results back so far, of which around a third were done at Health City, Cayman Islands, and the rest were done at Health Services Authority. The positive rate is coming in at 1.6% for immunoglobulin G, so it's a very low positive rate. And the figures that we've done is probably about 0.6% of the population, but we'll continue to do those and we'll report them periodically. Thank you very much for your reminder.
That's okay. Just a quick follow-up. Can you tell us, of these 383 that have been tested, I mean, obviously you've tested presumably the 195 people that were positive first.
No, you shouldn't presume that.
Okay. In that case, I'm just asking you a direct question.
Yeah,
how many of those are not people that were tested positive before?
The people that have been tested so far largely are healthcare workers, because obviously it was quite easy, especially when they were starting. I know that it's largely the staff at Health City and the staff at the HSA. Clearly not all of the staff, as there'll be more than that, but that's the major group that's been done so far. I haven't yet digested all the information beyond the figures, the basic figures that I've just given.
Okay, so you can't say yet from that figure how many people you know actually had the virus previously, tested positive for the virus, and have shown to have those antibodies?
Eyeballing it, around half of the people that were known to be positive had IgG, and then there was another group who we hadn't identified from PCR, but that was just an eyeball estimation that I made.
Okay. Thank you.
The digest will come out in the fullness of time. We'll be able to give you more information on that. It hasn't yet been entered into the database of the Access database that we hold.
Okay, great. Do you have any more thoughts yet on how this will help us?
I think it's probably going to tell us what we knew already, that there wasn't a huge penetration of COVID-19 in the general community, which is what we assumed. You would have thought that amongst healthcare workers, as being frontline, they would have been pretty well exposed to the chances of picking it up, especially early on when we didn't know that COVID was here, really, and it probably was. But we'll have more information as time goes along. But I think it's showing what we expected. I must say it's a little bit lower the percentage than I thought it would be.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. We're going to go now to our panel, beginning with our Honorable Premier.
Thank you, Donna. Happy Friday, everyone. The test results this week have continued trending the way we hoped, with very few positives. But we will continue with our plans to test and monitor the results as we continue to slowly open back up. I was disheartened today, but not surprised, at the news from the United States that the states of Texas, Florida, and Arizona have all had to pause their reopening plans due to spikes of COVID-19 infections. The Texas Governor Greg Abbott said that the rise in cases in Texas is largely driven by certain types of activities, including congregating in bars. I want to interject here. that I have been asked by the Liquor Licensing Board to take this opportunity to address what appears to be a lack of compliance and breach of license conditions by liquor license holders at various establishments since the reopening of bars and restaurants. The board would like to remind all liquor license holders that they must continue to comply with the liquor licensing law and music and dancing control law. Although regulations on public gathering have been relaxed, the board would like to remind persons that we must still be vigilant and protect ourselves and others. There have been numerous reports and complaints, in particular about certain local bars and several other hotspots on the 7 Mile Beach. It would seem that these establishments are under the impression that the approval they have has exempted them from adhering to all laws, including the public health law. There have been instances of parties reported to have more than 100 people in parking lots where the DJ has set up, where there is completely or a complete absence of any distancing. This situation not only creates a public health risk, but also safety risk for our officers, both in the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service and the DCI trade officers. Liquor license holders are being reminded of their responsibility under Section 28 of the law, which states it is the licensee's duty to procure the compliance of its agents and other persons under its control, and where such person commits an offense against the law, the licensee shall be equally culpable with such person for the offense, whether the licensee was or was not present at the time of the act or omission constituting the offense. I should also note that liquor license establishments which continue to breach the law are risking the suspension of their licenses. License holders are further reminded to adhere to the opening and closing hours, which are outlined on the license, as well as the conditions of their music and dancing license. There are no extensions being granted beyond the hours in the relevant license at this stage. The Royal Cayman Islands Police Service and DCI trade officers will be increasing their routine checks to identify these breaches, and actions deemed necessary will be taken to enforce the law. So I thought it important to interject that particular announcement as I was speaking about what is transpiring in the United States. Indeed, across the world, the number of COVID cases is still very concerning. And so yesterday, following an outbreak in Melbourne, the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison signaled that their borders may well remain closed to most international visitors until the middle of next year, because the coronavirus crisis continues to escalate across the world. And Australia had become almost COVID-free, and it is tourists and visitors who have reintroduced the virus there. Important lessons for us here. There's a lot of pushing and shoving going on now about reopening our borders. We have to be very careful. These are the reasons we are reopening our economy and society slowly and carefully. And this is why we're also carefully considering how to safely reopen the border. As I have been saying for months now, please, let's not jeopardize, let's not compromise the tremendous position that we are currently in. I am told that with the reopening of the economy and people getting back into the workforce, the number of individuals requesting screening has declined. But anyone who wishes to be screened may now do so by going to the website www.exploregov.ky. Click on the button on the left-hand side, register for screening. A screening application form will come up and it takes a few minutes to complete. I want to speak a bit about the isolation facilities. Most people will be aware of the government's ability to bring home Caymanians, permanent residents, and others who have been making their homes in the Cayman Islands relies on the availability of local room stock in government-approved quarantine facilities. While we are extremely grateful to those organizations that have helped us to provide the mandatory isolation service for the last 3 months, we know that many are working to free up room stock ahead of what is expected to be a high demand for staycations this summer. To help address this issue, yesterday on the government's bonfire procurement system, a request for information was published for providing isolation room stock that will close on the 9th of July. Facilities will be leased or rented for an initial period of 2 months, with possible extensions based on the volume of need. Some Caymanian students are only just getting an opportunity to come home, having finished their classes overseas. Meanwhile, others need to head off within the next few weeks, some for the first time. After getting their children settled overseas, parents will require isolation when they return home. Meanwhile, as we get ready for the new school year starting at the end of the summer, there are also teachers and their families who need to arrive and get settled in before school can open. To make this work, we need available room stock. Education is just one example of the logistics that government is navigating with these emergency flights. The needs of Caymanians who have to routinely travel away from and back to these islands for health-related issues is another. It is to help deal effectively with all of these issues that we have created the new entity to be known as Travel Time, the operations of which will commence on the 1st of July. And I want to finish up by speaking a little bit about reopening of Cayman Islands borders and the measures that we are taking there. To minimize the local spread of the virus, the government took the decision to temporarily close our country's borders. Consequently, the Win Roberts Airport, International Airport, and the Charles Colonel International Airport are closed to commercial passenger flights until the 31st of August 2020 at 11:59 p.m. And a ban on cruise ships remains in effect until the 31st of August 2020. And as I indicated before, the government continues to take note of the rate of COVID-19 infections, particularly in North America and other countries across the globe. But we still recognize that the Cayman Islands cannot remain sequestered from the outside world indefinitely. Certainly we can't open now with infection rates in Miami hovering around 30%, but a point will come when we must reopen. Careful consideration must be given to reopening our borders in due course, and appropriate plans and policies must be in place to safeguard the health and well-being of our people and future visitors to our islands when we do so. Planning for the resumption of commercial passenger traffic to our airports will require significant coordination and the collaboration of a number of relevant agencies. With this in mind, the government has established a Reopening of Borders Committee, RBC, comprised of 10 relevant agencies that will work together to formulate the policies, organize the logistics and operations, and evaluate the results of reopening our borders. The agencies included in the Reopening of Borders Committee are as follows: the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport, the Office of the Governor, Civil Aviation Authority, Cayman Islands Airports Authority, Cayman Airways Limited, the Department of Tourism, the Port Authority of the Cayman Islands, the Ministry of Employment and Border Control, the Ministry of Health, Environment, Culture and Housing, and the Health Services Authority. The RBC will be guided in part by a document produced by the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, through its Council Aviation Recovery Task Force. The document is entitled The Strategic Approach for Aviation Recovery in the North American Central American, and Caribbean regions. And it provides guidance to global governments and industry operators for the safe, secure, and sustainable restart of the aviation sector. It should be noted that the recommendations contained in that document are intended to work in harmony with the policies and guidelines developed by the RBC to manage the reopening of Cayman's borders. The proactive and stringent measures put in place by this government at the outset of the COVID-19 pandemic have proven successful and have allowed our country to move from suppression level 5, maximum suppression, to suppression level 2, minimal suppression, in the span of roughly 12 weeks. This is an encouraging indication which shows that our islands are in a much better place than many would have imagined just a short time ago. I am pleased that we are now able to prudently consider taking further steps towards normalization and, more importantly, towards the rebuilding of our tourism industry. It is absolutely essential that when our borders do reopen, the process is managed in a reassuring, methodical, and responsible way. The establishment of the RBC will help to ensure that the extraordinary efforts and sacrifices this country has undergone together to fight COVID-19 will not be squandered, and the risk of inward infection to our islands is minimized in every way possible. And I'd just like to finish with a shout out, a birthday wish to Pastor Audley Scott from Hillside Chapel in Cayman Brac. Pastor Scott delivered the prayer for us at Tuesday's briefing this week. Happy birthday, Brother Audley.
Happy birthday. Thank you, Premier McLaughlin, Your Excellency.
Yes, good, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I mean, first of all, yes, those results are extremely encouraging, and I think my main message is one that we have repeated before, which is that to stay safe, Cayman, we really do need to be disciplined and continue adopting the good habits of social distancing, the basic hygiene, and the wearing masks in public places. I warmly welcome all the work that's going on to look at how we can safely open our borders, but we shouldn't lull ourselves into a false sense of security. We have done incredibly well on our islands. We can be thankful for the position that we're in, but as we look to open the borders, there will have to be some element of risk, and those good practices and doing them now will hold us all in good stead. Secondly, just on British Airways flights, so the flight for next week, which is principally for Indian nationals, everything is in hand for that. So the inbound flight from London on the 2nd of July from Heathrow will bring back a small number of passengers to Cayman, and we will be helping out some fellow citizens in the British Virgin Islands who will be coming out on that flight, and then a plane will come from the British Virgin Islands to Cayman to take them straight out to BVI, so they won't be staying in Cayman. But yet again, we are helping our regional neighbours with these flights, which I think is very welcome. A quick update on the Defence Regiment. I'm absolutely delighted to say that we had over 350 applications for the 50 part-time reservists and a large number of Caymanians, which is really welcome news as well. Next steps are that in mid-July we'll be bringing out a training team from the UK, 14 people who will go into 2 weeks quarantine immediately on arrival, and then they will train our reservists through August. But we hope to be able to form the regiment, having done their basic training, by the end of August. The UK will also be shipping a large quantity of uniforms and equipment for the regiment during August. But our 5 junior officers are still at Sandhurst, which is the best military training establishment in the world. So I just want to thank everybody from the Premier down for a lot of work to get us into this position on the regiment. And then two quick shout-outs. First of all, Team Nolan, the paediatric programme of Cayman Heart Fund. This is Alien and Sean Nolan, who I've got to know very well since I arrived, and they are having a virtual Zumbathon for Little Hearts tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and they're doing incredible work to support all those who've lost children or have children with congenital heart defects. And Alien and Sean lost their baby, beautiful baby Nolan. So I would just welcome everyone supporting them at their Zumbathon. And then finally, I was delighted on Wednesday to visit the East End to support Meals on Wheels, who do fantastic work in the East End. I went with Jennifer West and Rob Imperato, but I met all the people working in the kitchen and the drivers who go out to visit residents. So Lenicia, Jason, and Janice, also Delmira Bodden, all doing incredible work for our community. And I met some wonderful East End citizens as well. So Miss Melrose and her son, Miss Treva, Miss Janny Lee, Mr. Everett Jackson, Mrs. Pamela and David, and Mr. Rankin and his extended family. And I met many of them. A warm, heartfelt hello to all of you, and thank you for making me so well.
Did you play the steel drum for them, Your Excellency? Not this time.
Not this time.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you so much, Donna. Good afternoon, everyone in the Cayman Islands, big and little, and our Caymanian families overseas listening. With some that I've seen and heard going on, it's important that MLK Jr. Said every man must decide whether he walks in the light of creative altruism or in the darkness of destructive selfishness. And though we are not perfect and don't do as you expect all the time, we must remember that, and I quote, forgiveness is not an occasional act, it is a constant attitude. He who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love. Love is the only capable force of transforming an enemy into a friend. I've decided to stick with love, as hate is too great of a burden to bear. Scripture reading today is Philippians 2, 3-5. Do nothing out of a selfish ambition or a vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. In your relationships with one another, have the same mind set as Jesus Christ. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading of this holy word. Shout outs today to Debbie Ann Christie. Happy birthday to you. Also, happy 56th anniversary to Mr. Baldwin and Natalie Jackson. Your families sent this in. Happy anniversary to you. Also, happy anniversary to Mr. Michael and Ms. Carol Stevens, 28th anniversary. God bless you all. Many have seen the dark skies and the low visibility. The Sahara dust is a serious problem for those who already suffer from chronic lung disease like asthma or emphysema. However, it can also affect the healthy individuals and allergy sufferers. This massive cloud dust travels thousands of miles across the Atlantic. It is suggested to stay healthy while the dust blows through our area. And we must understand it is not done just as yet. Although we see clear skies, is to stay indoors if possible, change your clothes and shower when you come inside. Also refill and stay updated with any prescribed medications for respiratory conditions, for example, inhalers. Wear a mask or goggles also. One of the primary healthcare concerns associated with the Sahara dust is particulate matter or microscopic dust, which can sidestep the lungs' natural defenses. Today is an exciting day for children and maybe some teachers and parents as well, as today marks the end of the school year. In anticipation of the need to keep our children mentally active throughout the summer, I want to highlight the kids' blog page on the exploregov.ky website. Our teams have put up a lot of work into compiling information such as videos, useful links, fun and educational activities. And we connected with dozens of local organizations and government entities to offer a myriad of resources in one comprehensive repository. I strongly encourage the public to take time to discover what is available locally via outreach programs, practical tips, mental health assistance, and for educational purposes. You can find all of this on the website as well. Another exciting bit of information is that our national attractions, the Queen Elizabeth II Botanic Park and the Pedro St. James Historic Great House, are reopening to the public starting on Monday, July 6th. Admission is only $5 for residents. Children 5 years and under, or seniors 65 and older, are absolutely free. If you have never been, it's been a while since you've last visited your national attractions, consider a family outing this summer. This is a great way to have time outside the house to enjoy nature and to learn about our island's past. Do you know why we call it Pedro St. James, the birthplace of democracy? Have you seen the national flower, the wild banana orchid in bloom? When was the last time the sight of a blue iguana took your breath away? As Minister of Culture, I encourage you to take time to revisit your history, revisit your culture, revisit your Cayman, and celebrate the importance of preserving our natural habitats and our heritage. I just wanted to mention that the Cayman Islands Weather Service is reporting that the improvement in hazy conditions is due to some of the rain showers we experienced yesterday. The official report states that fluctuation in the concentration of the dust haze can be expected over the next day or so, with increasing hazy conditions returning from about Sunday. You can stay up to date on the Sahara dust plumes by logging on to weather.gov.ky. Also, as you may already know, the dust plumes have hampered the mosquito research and control unit's ability to maintain aerial sprayings over the last couple of days, but I'm pleased to report that they are expecting to resume spraying tonight as dust conditions appear to have improved. However, MRCU officials have indicated that all of its fogging trucks have been out spraying each night since Thursday of last week, with the exception of Sunday, Father's Day. The truck spraying will continue on the ground level, and once the Weather Service gives the all clear, the unit will return to more consistent aerial spraying as required. I want to assure the public that the unit will continue to monitor its control of mosquitoes to ensure that the current upsurge is dissipated as quickly as possible. As always, I want to remind you that we are still living in the age of COVID-19 and we must remain vigilant. I want to address the heightened anxiety among some of us in our community as a matter of balancing our fear with the need to survive. We must continue as a community to do all that is necessary to keep ourselves, our families, our friends, and our neighbors safe. Please remember, we cannot act as if things are completely back to normal, because they are not. COVID-19 is still out there. We can look to the stories all over the world, for example, New Zealand, who boasted many weeks of being COVID-free, and then in one move to bring folks in, immediately saw cases. This is a solemn reminder that we must have necessary precautions in place to maintain our good standing. We want people to have opportunities to make money and provide for their families, but the prescribed good hygiene practices we have adopted should continue for now and well into the future, as coronavirus is only one communicable disease out of many. We continue to ask employers to allow any staff that are able to continue to work from home. This will help us to minimize the risk of employees contracting COVID-19. Please practice social distancing, wash your hands, and keep yourselves and your kids at home if you're sick. Let us all continue to do our part and not become complacent. Have a good weekend, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Minister of Health. We're going to go now to the Honourable Minister of Education, the Honourable Juliana O'Connor-Connolly. She's standing by on Zoom.
Thank you, Donna. Good afternoon to all. I also wish to associate my happy birthday wishes to Pastor Audley, as the Premier did earlier, and to also take this opportunity up front to wish a happy anniversary to Mr. and Mrs. Vintroy Randall at the Department of Environmental Services. It goes without saying that the Cayman Islands, along with the rest of the world, continue to experience the effects of COVID-19. And I dare say that we'll continue to do so for some foreseeable future. Our citizens here in Cayman has had to adapt to drastic life changes that have arisen as a result of this global disaster. Each day, we still discover new unprecedented challenges that have arisen as a result of this pandemic. Foremost, however, in our minds have been survival, and our government's priority has been and continues to be the health and safety of all of our residents. Acknowledging the outstanding work of our government, ably led by the Honorable Premier, and the cooperation of our citizens to control and suppress widespread transmission of the virus, we embark upon the next stages in our journey to restore all sectors of society. This includes, but not limited to, efforts to address the residual effects experienced in all other areas of the society. In the education sector, our students remain our most important stakeholders. Our education professionals have demonstrated an unwavering commitment to providing education to our students despite the odds. And I want to publicly acknowledge and thank our educators for their unrelenting efforts, even in the face of this global pandemic. This was not the case for the education system in some other countries, but in the Cayman Islands, we were able to continue with our teaching. Following the practice of global benchmarking to measure performance, it is indeed reported that England's current student engagement measure was at 23%, whilst here in Cayman, our local education system is at a remarkable 87.8%. This achievement is indeed a testament of the values and principles of our country. In fact, while we as a community all strive to provide solutions to restore the economy of these beloved Cayman Islands, we must all remember to appreciate the works of educators who are undeniably essential workers. In this statement, I will endeavor to provide an update on the education system in summary and categorize by topical issues relative to the pandemic and our responses in this regard. Commencing with governance and leadership. Throughout the pandemic, health and safety of students have been our key priority for the ministry, the Department of Education Services, and our schools. The Ministry of Education, the department, have worked diligently on the delivery of distance learning solutions tailored to each individual student need, in addition to the provision of regular meals, care packets, and other health and wellness support. This included, but not limited to, providing online education across all schools to approximately 5,020 students, packaged and provided an additional 6,000 printed schoolwork packets to students in need of printed coursework. In addition to schoolwork packets, we also provided 3,000 personal care packets. An example of these types included school supplies, hygiene items, treats, where applicable. We also provided 655 laptops on loan to students with a proven identified need and prioritized examination year students. We provided and are facilitating free school meals to over 600 students per day, provided weekly student counseling sessions and wellness checks via one-to-one small groups and full class sessions. We also are providing weekly staff counseling sessions and developing and delivering innovative virtual events to encourage social interaction, including but not limited to parent wellness sessions, talent shows, school assemblies, and school leaving ceremonies. The Minister of Education has drafted and or issued a range of guidance documents and policies for education institutions that focus on the following. Firstly, pre-pandemic planned and school closures and learning provision, continuity and education policy guidance for our schools, distant learning guidance, guidance and transition from primary to secondary, that is through year 12 pathways, snapshot of education provision, that is our monitoring document. We did an education recovery plan for the reopening of schools, for individual school plans, and a guidance for the reopening of our schools. There are several new cross-agency and multidisciplinary partnerships that have been developed and are in place in responding to our various student needs throughout this pandemic. Prior to and throughout the pandemic, the Ministry of Education, the Department of Educational Services, and our schools have been in close contact with a range of government and private sector partners. This has included the Ministry of Community Affairs, the Development of Children and Family Services, and the MASH unit. Student health and wellness has and continue to be of critical importance, and close partnerships with these agencies have been essential throughout the pandemic. We have also partnered with a range of charities to provide meals and care packets to students and families alike. Further, we have established partnerships to provide internet access for our students and teachers, transportation from the airports to isolation facilities, counseling support for students and staff, and provided a laptop to every single student in our government schools program is a new initiative that I'm happy to report that the Cabinet gave full support, and we're anticipating eagerly to roll out in September. We have also approved a one-time grant, and a committee have been established, chaired by none other than Mr. Dan Scott, who's also chairman of my very able and capable Education Council, and they will be dealing with the grants in order to support our private schools that we know are experiencing extremely financial hardships at this time. All private schools was sent the application information and have the opportunity now to apply for the said funding. We were able to get approved 750,000 Cayman Islands dollars, which will go towards assisting our private school grant. I also want to indicate that after having discussed the one-to-one laptop initiative for our public schools, it was brought to our attention that there may be a need to consider the same for UCCI, and I've undertaken to consider this and take it to the government, and at a later stage make a public announcement. We recognize that the negative residual effects of the pandemic in the lives of our nation's brightest minds, that our ministry have received now Cabinet's full approval for a temporary relaxation of scholarships requirements to allow scholarship recipients whose studies may have been affected by COVID-19 virus and suspended from scholarships funding to continue to receive funding under government scholarship program in line with the recommendations from the Education Council. Further, in April's press conference, you may recall that I called for an inspection of our schools by the Office of Education Standards, OES, in order to assess home learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. I wanted to see to have schools tested during this time in order to identify areas of both weaknesses and strengths in our school responses. It would be remiss of me if I did not add that I was confident that the report would reveal the underlying modus operandi, which was that we were ensuring equal access to all of our students, as we have embraced No Child Left Behind policy. The report addresses the following 12 areas: 1. Development of a comprehensive educational digital strategy to promote high quality learning more effectively at home as well as schools. 2. Enhancement of teachers' knowledge and skills relating to digital learning platforms. 3. Provision of a manageable range of digital platforms for distance learning. 4. Internet connectivity provision to facilitate effective home learning. 5. Enhancement of the provision for information technology in all of our government schools. 6. Minimum expectations set for online face-to-face teaching. 7. Assistance by DES in monitoring the quality of student online learning. 8. Processes to monitor and track attendance during the online session stages of education. 9. Assessment arrangements for identifying and understanding student learning gaps. 10. Ministry direction for best practice plans to address student learning gaps. 11. Strengthening of cross-agency, multidisciplinary partnerships. And lastly, reopening plans of schools to ensure health and safety of students and staff. To access the ministry's detailed responses to each of the 12 recommendations from the OES report, please visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus-education for the 12th of June release. Making up for learning. This potential learning loss will be addressed through securing education for all of our students, as it is an absolute priority. This is also being coupled with heightened focus on our students' mental health and well-being as we support them physically returning to school. We want our students to come back to a welcoming school environment and return to learn. Still, we also recognize the trauma that they may have experienced as a result of the pandemic, and we stand ready to fully support them. The Ministry of Education, together with the Department of Education Services, developed policy guidance to track student progress and attendance throughout the pandemic. Understanding any gaps in learning is essential in planning for the upcoming school year. Schools have tracked students' progress and achievement in order to identify learning gaps and provide responsive instructions. Students will also be assessed upon their return to school at the end of August in order to determine learning needs and schools to implement interventions and determine catch-up provisions. These assessments include, but are not limited to, read, write, progress test in English, progress test in math, progress test in science, and pupils' attentions to self and school. A careful balance has to be found with assessing students while being mindful of their mental health and wellness as a result of the pandemic. In addition, the ministry developed an education recovery plan template for use by all schools, private and public, to document their plans to addressing learning loss, professional development, curriculum restructuring, assessment, and mental health support for students and staff. Additional guidance have been provided by the Ministry of Education with research-based practices, both regional and international, to address learning loss. The Department of Education team, in consultation with principals, have also reviewed and adjusted the curriculum to place further emphasis on the core subject areas such as English, mathematics, and science. Special attention is also being placed on students who will sit examinations at the end of 2020-2021 academic year to ensure that they have the best chance of success. These education recovery plans are, in fact, due today. It should also be noted that students have completed approximately 75% of the school year when the switch was made to distant learning. Moving now on to examinations. At both the primary and secondary level, an assessment is going on after each topic module. Key stage 1 and 2 and 3 will have progress assessed from continuous assessment. Reporting on progress for key stages 1, 2, and 3 will be done via email and Everest platform. Parents will be notified on the distribution of these said reports. Key stage 4 will have external examinations. Key stage 4 examination results distribution will either be in person or electronically, depending on the status of COVID-19 in the Cayman Islands upon the receipt thereof. In March 2020, the various UK examination boards announced the cancellation of the June 2020 examination series at centers in all jurisdictions. This decision became necessary in order to ensure the protection and the safety of candidates and teachers considering the global COVID-19 pandemic. As an alternative to writing of the examinations, centers are now required to make evidence-based decisions about the grades of candidates in each subject. Other examination boards, such as Business and Technological Education Council, BTEC, and the Institute of the Motor Industry, IMI, have opted to continue with their external verification and quality assurance procedures. Site visits have been replaced with a remote sampling process. In the Caribbean Examination Council, they have taken a completely different approach. This council opted to continue with the administration of its examination using a modified examination process. The number of examination papers per subject was reduced to the minimum necessary to provide valid assessed grades and other specific changes. Plans for the administration of secondary external exams during COVID-19 have been developed and are currently under review. Moving on to school reopening plans. The ministry has developed and issued detailed guidance for the reopening of schools and early childhood care and education centers, which outlines all the recommendations listed. The guidance includes physical distances, phased return to schools, safety protocols, personal respiratory hygiene, enhanced cleaning and sanitizing protocols, shift break, lunches, and playtimes to ensure physical, social distancing, pick-up and drop-off protocols, protocols for our bus, that is transportation. Additionally, specific planning is underway to address student mental health and wellness when students physically return to school in August. Students and their families have experienced trauma throughout the pandemic. There's no doubt about this, and this needs to be addressed before learning can take place effectively. Government school reopening dates are as follows. August 25th. All new students report for new student orientation. The orientation on the 25th of August may be done remotely or in person. It is yet to be decided. Although some students may attend orientation on the 25th, their in-person classes may not resume until September. August 26th, all nursery, reception, years 1, 2, 6, 7, 10, and 11 are to report to school for in-person lessons. The Creek and Spot Bay Primary School will determine at a later date whether additional students will be allowed to resume classes on that day. And this is because that particular institution is a split campus and the considerations for social distances will be different. SciFec will also welcome its Year 12 students. Students in years 3, 4, 5, 8, and 9 will resume online lessons. September 9th, students moving into year 3, 4, and 5 for primary schools will return to school, and years 8 and 9 for secondary schools will return at that time. All schools will be open for classes on this day, that is September 9th. The 2020-2021 academic calendar is now available online at www.education.gov.ky. In closing, I would like to add that we have an incredible team of educational professionals who are committed to providing the best service to our students. And I would like to publicly express my gratitude to all of the amazing staff of our government school system, including our ministry staff, DES staff, teachers, teacher assistants, counselors, coaches, administrators, bus drivers, wardens, canteen workers, and security guards who are continuing to show up for our students in a miraculous form. We must not forget that school staff are also parents and caregivers of their own families as well. And yet they're still expected to deal with the effects of this pandemic while still teaching our students. This is a counterbalance with their own personal commitment while they deliver best practice learning solutions to our students, of whom there are tutors, counselors, confidants, and extended family members. I say a great, big, colossal thank you. God bless you, educators. And we acknowledge the entire government that you are indeed essential workers. To parents and guardians, I also rightfully am cognizant and indeed acknowledge the part that you have played and that you continue to play as you provide home learning support to your children. During this remote learning period, you have our support, the government's full support. We understand the challenges you face and are doing everything we can to support you and your child's needs. I therefore encourage you to continue to work collaboratively with your child's teachers and school staff. More importantly, to recognize and honestly reflect upon the work that it truly takes to educate our children. Further, to continue to remain as involved in the educational journey of your children once we have overcome this pandemic, and overcome we will. Because we are a resilient people, we will overcome this with the grace of Almighty God. Do not waver. Do not lose faith. Trust in God, and we shall overcome. We are in this together, Cayman Islands. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister of Education. We go first to Wendy from CNS. Questions for the Honorable Minister and her team. Wendy?
Thank you, Donna. Minister, can I just ask you, do you feel that the inspector's report was fair or not?
Minister Julie?
Absolutely, Wendy. Thanks for the question, actually, because I got a similar inquiry on Radio Cayman yesterday, and I want to specifically be emphatic about the fact that I, as minister at the April press conference, unlike other OES reports, requested Mr. Peter Carpenter and his competent team to do a report, because as minister, I felt that it was very important that I knew what the strengths and weaknesses of this educational system in the Cayman Islands was at perhaps one of our worst times, perhaps since 2004 with Hurricane Ivan. And I feel pleased and satisfied that Mr. Carpenter as well as my educational professional, were operating in very unnavigated waters, but worked assiduously and relentlessly to provide what I deem is a fair and independent report.
Thank you for that, Minister. Just one more. One of the things that the inspectors had recommended was extending either the school day or the school year. How do you feel about that? What consideration has been given to doing that? And if not, why not?
I absolutely agree that we need to catch up. The alternative, Wendy, would have been to repeat K through 5. And we discussed that as I played devil advocate with my educational professionals, and I was convinced that that was not the way to go. And they diligently worked and presented and distributed the recovery plan. There is plan to extend the school day. We are in discussion, although we had planned to just do the core subjects, we still will do. I still want to have a look at our physical education activities and some of the other arts to make sure that they're not forgotten along the way while we play catch up, because I think we have to educate from a holistic perspective. And so the team will ensure that. But I also understand that there's quite a bit of dissatisfaction with the change that we made last year with the commencement of the school time. And it is felt in many quarters that it contributed negatively to the backup of traffic. So my team is actually looking at that in the fact, and we hope that we'll be in a position in short order, Wendy, to make an announcement in that regard. But we believe that not only will we have to add a half hour, perhaps even an hour to the school day, but we will also have to watch it and see how the summer term is going, because the modus operandi is to ensure that all of our children not only have access, but that they are not left behind. And that's why I'm extremely happy, Wendy and others, that the cabinet supported the one-to-one computer program, which will provide our 5,020 students with computers. As you would recall, I did that for the teachers last year. We had hoped to announce that in August this year, but COVID-19 expedited that and put even some of us that perhaps wasn't that IT savvy into the IT world. And because Cayman is small but Retaloa, our government saw it prudent and necessary to go to this program. So I would make a call to the private sector who came on board and will be assisting with 2,000 of the 5,020, that if you would also come and hear the clarion call today to assist me with doing a similar program with our tertiary education.
Okay. Minister, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy. We're going to go next to Kayla from the Compass. Kayla, please go ahead.
Hi, Minister.
Hello.
I wanted to start off on the topic of digital connectivity. We know that that was a challenge during these months, and that some students in the beginning didn't have access to a laptop or perhaps to internet. It sounds like from what you said that in September we can expect that all public school students would have a device. Is that correct?
That is a very bold and ambitious directive that the minister have given. Obviously, we're in the middle of hurricane season, so save except an act of God, or in law we say a novus actus et opinius. That is the mandate and the timeline that I've given. I'm establishing a committee where the names which will be released before the end of next week to help do the advisory and the footwork to get it expedited before the procurement committee so that we can get these computers on land, because that is the way of the future. And if we don't want our children in the Cayman Islands, and notice I said children because when it comes to education, I don't put a line between Caymanians and non-Caymanians. If you're here, it's my duty to educate you. So I talk very straight and general in those regards. I believe that if we're going to continue to move this island nation to be respected on the global platform, we must embrace technology, and our government is prepared to put resources behind that.
Great. Do we have a cost estimate for how much this laptop or digital device plan will cost?
I do. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I can get my team to send that to you. The chief office is on, and some of my other team, they can give you the amounts that was in the cabinet paper that was approved. It was a couple of million, but it's not as much as what we pay to house prisoners, so you won't get too excited with the results.
Okay, great. And one of the other difficulties with digital connectivity was internet access. Is there any way that the ministry will be able to address that barrier for certain students?
My friend and colleague, the Honorable Joseph Hugh, is actually responsible for the ICTA, and it's kind of a split through OFRI. But I know that he is working assiduously to ensure that we can have an increased bandwidth. And even as I speak to you now, I speak with a prayer that I don't get disconnected, because we've been experiencing the same thing here on the Brack Bay. Providers have been doing the best that they can, and some of them have come on board and assisted our schools. There have been some free Wi-Fi spots that also the minister, Hugh, has been working with them to get, and also our ministry. And I believe that the ICT providers, certainly for the most part, have the interests of Cayman at heart. Yes, they're a business and they have to make a profit, but they also understand that if they can get this generation, quote unquote, hooked on the IT world, they have customers for life.
And in the inspection report, it noted that there was a small percentage of students that were difficult to track, that parents hadn't answered attempts to contact them. Have we been able to track down those students?
Yes, I'll ask the chief officer to deal with that, because I think it's a matter of interpretation what the terminology unaccounted for meant. So I'll give her this opportunity to weigh in to explain that for you, please.
Okay.
Hi, good afternoon. Tanya Cacho here. Yes, the first week of reporting, principals reported in different ways, and that was clarified by the Department of Education Services. Some persons were reporting students who had been unaccounted for, and those who had just not attended class for that day. So once that was clarified, those numbers dropped significantly. Where students were unaccounted for, principals worked with the truancy team at the Department of Education Services to ensure that we could track down those students, make sure they were safe, make sure that they were having no issues, and where we could provide support, we went ahead and provided that support. This was done in several cases in partnership with the Department of Children and Family Services as well, where their support was needed.
So are there any students that remain unaccounted for at this point?
No, there are none.
Okay, great. And my last question touches on hygiene and public health protocol. A recent release from the ministry touched on the need for increased hygiene once students return to classes. What will that look like? Will we see possibly smaller class sizes or any measures to promote social distancing?
Again, the chief officer and her team has worked on that plan, so I'll give her an opportunity to give you explicit details.
Okay.
Thank you. There are a number of measures in place. I won't list them all. You can refer to the guidance document that's available on the government website, our Instagram page, as well as our Facebook page. So we will be having social distancing in classrooms. So larger furniture pieces, etc., are being moved out as we speak so that desks can be placed further apart. We're doing shift systems for break and lunch and play time to ensure that tables and play equipment can all be wiped down between use. Things like students bringing or we providing separate school supplies so there's no sharing of resources within the classroom. Those sorts of things will be in place. We also have measures for social distancing or physical distancing on our school buses. And we're adjusting pick-up and drop-off times so that we don't have large groups of students, gathering in the morning and the afternoon. But there is a long list of changes that will be made to ensure that students are kept safe and staff are kept safe when we do return to school at the end of August.
Sorry, I have one last question before I let you guys go. We're just getting some comments from viewers online who would like to know about the plan for special needs students who, might have had a particularly difficult time during this pause. What is our plan to reintegrate those students and address their needs?
Chief Officer, you can respond to that as well.
Okay, thank you. Like we said, Minister said earlier, there is a great emphasis placed on the health and well-being of students as they come in, and then the focus is on education gaps, education learning as students return. This is especially the case for students that have any sort of special educational needs or additional learning needs. We have a team of educational psychologists, counselors, speech and language therapists, hearing specialists, vision specialists that are currently working on plans for those students as they come in. Because we've been monitoring student progress for all of our students throughout the pandemic, we have a really good understanding of any gaps in learning that students may have, and this includes students with special educational needs. Schools currently are preparing their reopening education plans, which detail how they will address gaps in learning, the curriculum areas, the timing of the school day, etc. And those are actually due in today. So we will be getting that plan from the Lighthouse School, for example, today as well, about their detailed plans for reintegrating students physically into the school space. In addition, all of the other schools will have details on how they're addressing meeting the needs of students with special educational needs or additional educational needs. But that's all being worked out now in preparation.
Great. And while you are here, Ms. Cacho, do you have the cost for the laptop plan, or is that something we should follow up with after?
I don't have it to hand, but we can certainly send you that information.
Okay, thank you for that. Those are all my questions.
Okay, Kayla, thank you very much. We're going to go now to questions for the panel, beginning with Wendy. Wendy, please go ahead.
Sorry, Donna, you caught me off guard there. I thought it was Ralph. Yeah, questions for the panel. Just bear with me 1 second. My first question is actually for the governor, and it relates to corridors and air bridges from the UK. There's been several reports in the British press over the last week that both the health minister there and the transport minister there have spoken about British people, holidaymakers, effectively, being able to come to the Cayman Islands without having to quarantine in some kind of air bridge corridor next month. Can he comment on?
Yes, Wendy. I mean, there's been a lot of speculation and ill-informed comment in the press, and obviously we've been seeing that as well. There actually are no decisions yet by the British government on this, and I don't think we'll see the decisions until next week. But of course, there can be no question of British tourists coming to the Cayman Islands, and I don't think that is being contemplated at all. Everyone is very aware of our strict policies on the limited capacity in the government facilities and the need for everybody to quarantine for 2 weeks. So I'm sure that any holidaymakers would soon decide to go somewhere else if they knew that was what they had to do on arrival.
Okay, thank you for that. I just wanted to check because it has raised a few eyebrows. The other question is probably for the governor and the premier. It's kind of unrelated to today's press briefing, but it is related to the release of the domestic partnership law. Based on the press release that you put out, Governor, and also historic events, are either of you expecting a backlash on this proposed legislation? And also, what can be done about the hate speech which has been recorded on this issue numerous occasions in the Legislative Assembly?
Well, Wendy, I've in a statement today, I welcomed the publication of the bill, and I have issued a longer statement. I don't wish to add anything more to that at this stage, and I think this is now a matter for the Legislative Assembly.
Well, I issued a statement as well, which has gone out. I know it's gone out because other members of the media have spoken to me about it.
I haven't seen it. Sorry, Premier, I haven't seen that.
Well, I'm not sure what the problem is, but it's been issued.
I'll track it down. Don't worry, I'll track it down.
Right. So to say this is a controversial issue is to make a real understatement. So we do expect that there will be objections, there will be comment, there'll be heated debate about these issues. That's the way it works in a democracy. I hear you categorize what some members of the House have said as hate speech. I suppose that's a matter of opinion, but free speech is still very much alive and well, particularly in the Legislative Assembly. And as long as people, members, do not breach the requisite protocols, it's really a matter of their opinion. I'm sure if they step over the line, then the presiding officer should deal with it in the usual way. I can't police what people say. Sometimes I wish I could.
Okay, thank you. But more back to the yes, the border question. It does, Premier, do you plan on when the date comes back up again on the 31st of August? What's the plan for dealing with that date, or don't you have one? Are you just going to go on a basis of like when we get there, you'll make the decision of like maybe extending it for another month or whatever? What's the plan to address it?
Well, we don't want to leave it for the last moment because people want to make plans about, things. And obviously the more notice you can give, the better. But, as I've said before, it's really a moving target because, what's the absolute meltdown that's happening in some key states in the United States, particularly Florida now, is very, very worrying. As I said earlier, how can we possibly contemplate opening the borders to the United States where, Miami is a suburb of the Cayman Islands, so with an infection rate which is hovering somewhere around 30%, I'm not sure how we do that. So we keep watching what happens, and we'll have to adjust our plans as things evolve. In the meantime, we're working on a range of ways that we can reduce the risk. We can't eliminate it, the risk of persons coming here with it. And as Dr. Lee sort of hinted, a lot of discussions are going on about how this can be done. But I'm not sure that even that is possible when infection rates are as high as they are.
Right.
There's other sorts of developments going on around the world. I saw some promising statements on, I think it was BBC this morning, that the Chinese are now saying that they expect to have a vaccine by the end of the year. There are lots of, well, I won't say lots, but there are a number of drugs that are being trialed that seem to have a lot of promise of, reducing the potency, and the risk of people getting really sick or dying of the disease. So as these things and developments, welcome developments, continue to occur, maybe we'll get to a point, I doubt that before September, but we get to a point in the world where the virus can sort of be treated as a bad flu rather than something that really has the potential to kill vulnerable people, people who have underlying medical issues or who are aged and infirm. So it's, we have to keep evaluating. Every day there's some new information, and we keep adjusting our plan as things go along.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. That's all I have, Donna. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Wendy. We're going to go now to Ralph from the Caymanian Times.
Thank you, Donna. Good afternoon, members of the panel and the Minister of Education. Thank you for your invaluable presentations. Mr. Premier, I have two questions for you. You actually answered one before I answered it, and it was regarding borders. And so I just move on to the second one. We have seen the first week of significant relaxation of restrictions. Beside the unacceptable behavior at the bars, can you comment on the feedback you received regarding everyone opening up their stores and getting back to business as usual?
Lots of very happy people around. I have to tell you, it's good. I mean, as I move around, over the weekend, I traversed from West Bay to Kaibo on my bike, and all along the way, and people crossing, once they recognized it was me, they were toots, and a lot of people. In almost 20 years in politics, I've never had that kind of welcome, particularly in the District of West Bay. But it's really, people really are happy and grateful that we've gotten this far and that things are going so well. So it's been a long, hard struggle to get here, which is why we all get so worried at the sort of behavior that has been reported at some liquor license establishments, because that really runs the risk of undermining, everything we've done. I talked earlier about the number of countries and states that are having to go back into lockdown, or some imposing new restrictions again on people's movements and activities. We don't want that to happen here. And while all of us are very, very encouraged and believe that we've run the virus pretty much to ground, we can't be certain. Outbreaks do pop up and have popped up all around the world. Even in Wuhan, where they took the most stringent of measures. So, I understand the elation everybody has. I feel it too, but let's not get too carried away.
Thank you very much. I said maybe that's the reason for the celebration. I have one question for the Minister of Health, Donna, if I may ask him at this time.
Please go ahead, Ralph.
Okay. Minister, you mentioned encouraging residents to visit their natural locations regarding culture. I believe in culture myself, and I think that the future success of a country depends on the foundation and the knowledge of the culture of its residents. Do you think that enough has been done to ensure that our children have been taught the culture and been exposed to what is the foundation of the Cayman Islands?
Well, yeah, that must be a trick question now.
No,
you want me to get in trouble with the education department. And I won't. I'll allow them to answer.
Minister of Health, I don't mind answering.
Discretion is the better part of valor.
Okay, we're going to go to the Minister of Education for the answer there for you, Ralph. Please go ahead, Minister O'Connor Connolly.
Thank you, Ralph. You just exposed your political DNA from another place that I know, but nonetheless. Ralph, I believe culture, like all of education, is revolves around a tripartite relationship, whereas the school, the parents, and the students. And I believe that culture is best learned at home, because oftentimes a picture's worth 1,000 words. I fully believe and support that culture also has to be formally and structurally taught from an educational, institutional perspective, but no one can teach my daughter to cook a coconut dinner like I can.
I thank you very much, Minister, and Minister of Education. I appreciate that. Mr. Simo, there's no trick questions from me. Donna, thank you very much. That's all for today for me. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Ralph. We're going to go now to Kayla at the Compass. Kayla, please go ahead.
Hi. Just have a couple of quick questions. My first is for the governor. You mentioned the India flight earlier, and I just wanted to address some fears that were produced by news reports this week about India extending its international border closure. Can you clarify that would not affect the flight planned from Cayman?
Yes, I can confirm that won't affect it. We've got the agreement of the Indian government for that flight. So I can reassure the Indian nationals on that flight will go.
Okay, perfect. And, just touching on the topic of travel, the Premier addressed this earlier that given the situation in North America, it's going to be quite difficult perhaps to roll out a travel plan for that region. Is it possible for Cayman to explore possibly regional travel options, considering how low numbers in the Caribbean have remained? Is there a possibility for inter-Caribbean tourism to be promoted?
That's really not my forte. In fact, I don't even know what the numbers are. I mean, in the past, historically, what the numbers are for Caribbean, for regional tourism. But in principle, I see nothing wrong with exploring that. As I say, I just don't know what the numbers are. I don't believe they're very high. But as opposed to the U.S., which is about, or North America, which is about 80%. So, as I say, but in principle, the idea of these sort of bubbles within the region would be something that I would strongly support if the numbers are there to warrant it.
Of course. And you brought up the topic of cruise ships. And
did I?
I mean, do we? I mean, what do we envision cruise travel might look like in the future, considering the role that they did play in spreading cases?
There you go. I don't know if anyone does know. It's going to struggle. I mean, the industry is going to struggle going forward without question. They've got a very, very bad name when it comes to this disease, and the way the ships are designed, the way that the programs are designed. There's lots and lots, thousands upon thousands of people in many instances living in very close proximity to each other, sharing a whole range of spaces and amenities. It's like a crucible for the transmission of disease, which is past its way. So, yeah, I'm sure some long, hard thought is going into all of that by those who are involved. Quite frankly, from our perspective, we have been so focused on dealing with the issues that we have here now that I'm not sure many of us have given much thought to that so far, but we will have to.
Of course. Those are all my questions for today.
Okay, thank you very much, Kayla. We're going to go back to Wendy at CNS.
Yeah, sorry about that, Donna. Thank you for allowing me. I just want to clarify something with the Premier. I may have misunderstood. The statement that appeared about the domestic partners law on the Gazette, that is your statement, is it?
Yeah, the one that refers to the government.
It says a press release it's on the Gazette. I thought that came from legal drafting, but it doesn't. That's your statement. Those are your words.
It does say the government.
All right. Okay. So it's not. It's just.
It doesn't say the Premier said this or the other, because it's not. No. It's not just the Premier that's doing it. This is the government. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing something. That's all.
No. I didn't put out I didn't put out a separate statement from that. That's it.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much, Wendy. I have two quick questions before we go. Do we know, are isolation facilities full at this time? I know they were a little while back, but are they still full?
No, I don't think. I forgot what Dr. Lee, I think, is probably a better place than
120 or something.
Hi, Donna. The figures that we gave earlier were that there were 129 people in the government facilities.
Okay.
I believe that gives quite a bit of capacity, but I'm sorry I don't know the details. They're all.
Okay, no worries. Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. The other question, maybe Premier McLaughlin can address this one. Do we know when the passport office is going to be opening to new applications for passports and renewals?
I don't have that answer, but I can get that, but I don't.
Okay. All right. That's it for me for questions. Any final words from the panel or Minister of Education? Any final words today?
The only thing.
Yes, Donna, just to say that the approximate cost for the capital acquisition and operational costs for the one-to-one computer program will be in the region of $3 million. And then there'll be an annual allocation necessary of just over $2 million.
Okay. Thank you very much, Minister.
You're welcome.
Okay. Dr. Lee, did you have something else you wanted to say? Oh, right, for next week. Premier McLaughlin, did you have something to say? Did you have any final words?
I was going to say that we think that we have reached a point now where it probably is not necessary for us to have 2 press conferences every week on this particular issue. And next week, in any event, we're in the House. So unless something pops up, we will plan on just 1 press conference next week for next Friday.
Thank you very much, Premier McLaughlin. Minister of Health?
No, I had to say this in regards to the teachers at home during this COVID-19. I've been hearing a lot of praises. They ought to know that the parents are really praising them for the work that they do, and they have admitted that they can't do what the teachers do. Of course, a lot of parents are struggling, and I don't know how clearly to say this, but they can't wait to turn them back over to you in September.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for that, Minister. And thank you, of course, to the public for joining us for today's press briefing, and, of course, to our panel for bringing us up to date on everything that's been happening. A reminder to go online to gov.ky/coronavirus for any information on the coronavirus, as well as gov.ky/coronavirus-education to look at any of the documents for information that was released today by education officials. Of course, again, we hope that you'll join us next week, Friday, for another press briefing. Until then, be safe, have a great weekend, and stay tuned for today's world and regional statistics.
"50 minutes flirting with the 4 o'clock hour." Just wound up another press briefing on COVID-19. 345. Repeat can be heard again at 7 p.m. That is following Radio Cayman's Information Hour. Regular scheduled program begins right now.
Shake to Win is back. Stand a chance to win LTE handsets, cash prizes, data, vouchers for free gas, groceries, and more. But that's not all. Every week, you get a chance to win the $5,000 U.S. cash regional prize. Don't miss out. Simply download the new My Digicel app, activate a plan, look for the green smiley face, and start shaking. It's that simple. My Digicel app. More made simple.
TC, the Cayman Football Association.
Hey, fellas, we ain't gonna ever back down from nobody.
This is Alfredo Whitaker, president of the Cayman Island Football Association.
I don't care who it is. This is a brotherhood. And if we stand strong together, we can't be denied.
Show your support. Your teams are working hard to be the best.
CIFA.
Cayman Islands Football Association. Building a better future for Cayman football.
If one of us go down, we have another, and another, and another that's ready to fight.
Radio Cayman and CIFA, your team. 2020, your year.
So let's hit this field and bang them.
CIFA, Cayman Island Football Association.
Go out and support the matches in your district.
Join the University College of the Cayman Islands admission team for their webinar, a step-by-step guide on how to apply to UCCI this fall 2020 semester. It's happening Friday, June 26th at 12 noon. Get the answers you need to make your admission process easy. Visit ucci.edu.ky to register. That's ucci.edu.ky.
We've got some good news. You can now shop at Foster's no matter what day it is.
We're now open 6:30 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday to Saturday. But please remember that you're still required to wear a face covering when shopping with us.
And don't forget to maintain a distance of at least 6 feet from others in the store. This is all to ensure that you have a happy, healthy shopping experience with us. For more info, visit fosters.ky. Foster's. Better because we care.
More than ever, we need to ensure our friends, neighbors, colleagues, and family are staying well with social distancing. That means being creative. Call them regularly. Create WhatsApp groups. Offer to assist with shopping or running errands. You could use an app like Nextdoor to see if your neighbors need assistance while the world grapples with the latest challenges. Be Cayman kind. Cayman Insurance Center. For 45 years, they have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future. If you need someone to speak to during these challenging times, call Denise Brown at 814-7229 or Michael Webster at 925-5433. Cayman Insurance Center. They care about you.
Babes to Teens. Step into Babes to Teens and you will find great clothing and other items at affordable prices for Babes to Teens. We will take you from baby registry and every age in between straight up to teen. Browse for clothing and accessories. Drop by today and get those hard-to-find pieces for your child at Babes to Teens. Located at number 8 Plaza Venetian, North Sound Way. Telephone 946-8157. Opened Monday to Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Customers are required to wear masks and be mindful of social distancing while shopping in store.
Who's next?
Obey the laws and wear the gauze. Protect your jaws from septic paws. Stay clean, K-Man. Reflection sells hand sanitizer from $2.99. 10 surgical masks are only $9.99. And the best KN95 masks from only $3.30. Volume discounts available at all 5 Liquor for Less locations. Shedden Road, North Church Street, Savannah, Northside, and the McClendon Drive Airport location. Don't miss the Liquor for Less incredible lockdown price markdowns. Hundreds of fine from $2.99. Cases of ice cold below wholesale prices. Save $9 off liters of. Enjoy our manager specials exclusively at Liquor for Less. Prices so low, we can't say them on the radio. Liquor for Less enforces the wearing of masks, social distancing, and preventative measures to help stop the spread of COVID-19, such as consistent hand washing and only leaving home for essential purposes.
Radio Cayman's Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio, featuring Will Sinatra. Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, dancehall, and soca, and an entertainment trivia section.
Another proud sponsor of the Super Jam Show.
Merengue Town.
Time to feel the rhythm. Time to feel the vibe. It's time for Merengue Town.
Radio. With a switch of a dial, radio brings you tragedy, comedy, entertainment, information, education, a whole world at your command.
Give me some sound over here.
Radio Cayman's Super Jam Show. Radio. Proudly sponsored by the Cayman Islands Football Association. SIFA, building a better future for Cayman football.
Word up, and we in effect. Keep on listening.
Super Jam. The Super Jam Show is fueled by the proud sponsorship of insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center. Don't take chances with your family's future.
Another proud sponsor of the Super Jam Show.
Merengue Town.
Time to feel the rhythm. Time to feel the vibe. It's time for Merengue Town.